Chapter 84 Wraith Style. Chapter 84 Wraith Style. Achoo! Who's badmouthing me behind my back? In a secluded forest, Zhuofan scratched his nose and set his eyes on a 100-meter tall rock. He suddenly flexed his legs and jumped, with the wings behind him flashing with lightning. Wraith Style first move, Soaring Demonic Dragon. Roar! A black draconic image flashed with him at its center. The dragon intertwined with the lightning and smashed into the rock. Boom! The rock crumbled like a stack of cards and Zhuofan came out with a flash. Then he turned around and unleashed a black claw at the rubble. Wraith Style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. It was lackluster compared to the previous thundering explosion, but it made up for it with visual impact, turning the rubble to sand. The tremors even frightened the birds away. Zhuofan gasped as he continued sweating, but his hands kept dancing through gestures, aiming for the flock of birds. Wraith Style third move, Necro Dragon Screech. Roar! The sound was eerie, akin to a demon. Zhuofan's wail even made ripples through the air as it swept the flock of birds. The birds froze mid-air, their eyes blanked, and fell dead. One look would spot thousands of dead birds. Zhuofan was now reduced to a gasping mess, crouching down with a downcast look. This low profound ranked martial art matched the Wraith art. Each strike held enough power to shake the earth and kill instantly. Although ranked low, it was nonetheless strong as a mid-profound ranked martial art. The problem was the high requirement these moves had on the body, making it viable only to Wraith art cultivators. But with Zhuofan's refined body, he long surpassed it. In theory, these moves should have been easy for him to execute. Yet the fact remained, only after training in them for a month did he realize that he didn't lack in the body department, but in the soul. He was in the first layer of bone tempering stage and using profound ranked martial art almost exhausted his Yuan Qi. The last move, in particular, Necro Dragon Screech, was a soul attack that could only be trained when one was in the radiant stage. With his body and soul refined, his soul power shot up, and even with the added benefit of the azure flame, he just barely succeeded. But it didn't stop him from feeling his vision swoon and collapse. Goddamit! These moves will be the death of me. If I don't kill my enemy with these, he will kill me. Zhuofan sighed and sat cross-legged to recover his Yuan Qi. Killing Yugiki stirred up a hornet nest. He was bound to stumble on a far stronger opponent and needed to protect himself by training powerful martial arts. As a consequence, he hid for over a month in the mountains to practice, yet the outcome wasn't in the least bit reassuring. Half a day later, Zhuofan stood up with a rosy complexion, having recovered. His hand flashed and was now holding a large egg. He looked at the singed marks on the egg with worry. The Thunder Skylark egg was still alive thanks to its mother's spiritual energy. But this only put a delay on things. If he wanted to hatch it, he'd first have to restore its vitality. Just where am I supposed to look for the needed spiritual herbs in this vast world? The egg wasn't fully developed yet and common herbs wouldn't do any good. He'd need those rare treasures capable of snatching a man's life from the jaws of imminent death. Zhuofan couldn't help but frown at this thought. Song Yu, hand over the body tempering pill if you know what's good for you. A sudden shout interrupted Zhuofan's musings. His face darkened and walked over. Who's the bastard that dares disturb my peace? Pushing a branch aside, Zhuofan saw a man and a woman driving a carriage. The man was around 20 with fine features and at first layer of bone tempering stage cultivation, while the woman was of similar age, charming complexion, and in the second layer. They were surrounded by 6 men, of who 5 were in the 8-9th layer of bone tempering stage and the last one, an old man, was in the 6th. The pair was now staring daggers at the old man. Humph, the body tempering pill was made by us, the Song clan, through a secret formula to join in the 100-pill meeting. You think I'm just going to give it away? The man snorted and a first-grade spiritual weapon appeared in his hand. Zhuofan smiled in derision. The body tempering pill was a 4th-grade pill, useful in tempering one's bones, and also useful in aiding a 9th-layer qi condensation cultivator in breaking through to the bone tempering stage. The only downside was that it could only be used once. For the genius Zhuofan, who was worry-free about breaking through to bone-tempering stage, this pill was garbage. And this crappy pill was made from a secret formula. What a bunch of weaklings. But the bloodshot-eyed old man thought otherwise. Ha ha ha, Song Yu, Song Qian, aren't the two of you in the bone-tempering stage at such a young age thanks to it? Your third-rate clan, which sees the secret formula for a fourth-grade pill, is being too greedy. It's best if you just hand it over. Humph, we would rather die. Song Qian and Song Yu charged at the old man who did the same. Bam! From just a single palm attack, both of them drew wide arcs in the air trailed by their blood. Despite being in the same stage, the difference of 5 to 6 layers wasn't something they could overcome. Miss Song Qian, is this necessary? Be good and hand the pill and its formula. Are you going to force this old man into patting down the both of you? The old man eyed Song Qian's enticing curves and let out lascivious laughter. Song Qian glared with hatred but then sighed and looked at her brother. Are you scared? I am not. Song Yu steeled himself. Then let us die together. At least the clan's formula won't land in that old bastard's hands. Song Qian made a downcast smile and raised Song Yu's spiritual weapon to their necks. This scene stirred Zhuofan's heart, his mind drifting to the siblings in the Windgaze city. They would have had the same ending if I wasn't compelled by the heart demon at that time. Sighing, Zhuofan shot a leaf at the pair. Whoosh! Just when it was about to slit their throats, the weapon fell off her hands. Who's there? Both the siblings and the old man shouted anxiously. Is it really necessary to kill them over a fourth-grade pill? Zhuofan stepped out of the tree line. The old man laughed. Here I was nervous who might come, and it's only a brat fresh into the bone-tempering stage. He mocked Zhuofan. Kid, aren't you a demonic cultivator? Everyone knows demonic cultivators are the most savage and ruthless bunch out there, and you have the cheek to preach me on mercy? I'm not preaching mercy, but power. Zhuofan sneered. Now that I have witnessed this matter, you can't kill them. Humph, with just you. The old man's eyes glinted with malice as Song Qian shouted anxiously, Little brother, run. Save yourself and forget about us. Run? Too late. While Song Qian was urging him, the old man charged at Zhuofan with a snicker. Kid, you only got yourself to blame for poking your nose where it does not belong. The siblings could only close their eyes to be spared of the horror. Yet with a crisp sound, Zhuofan stood unfazed while the old man fell in a pool of blood, headless. The laughing old man was dead in an instant, and despite the others having smiles on their faces, their eyes were filled with terror. They clearly saw how Zhuofan made a casual attack and popped the old man's head. Monster! A scream echoed and the others ran for their lives. Zhuofan didn't care about them and turned to leave. Wait! Song Qian called. Her eyes were in shock of Zhuofan's immense strength despite similar cultivation levels. It was as different as heaven and earth. Chapter 85, 100 Pill Meeting. Chapter 85, 100 Pill Meeting. What is it? Zhuofan asked as he turned slowly. He noticed the elegant beauty, yet he didn't bat an eyelid. Song Qian was the one to be affected by his gaze instead, blushing and lowering her head. I have yet to know little brother's name. One day, the Song clan will repay you for saving our lives. No need. Saying so, Zhuofan started leaving. Startled, Song Qian felt somewhat discouraged in her heart. All males in 100 miles of Song clan would be speechless in her presence, yet Zhuofan gave her the cold shoulder. This led to the rising discontent inside her. She skipped before Zhuofan and stopped him by raising her hand. But he just frowned. Is there anything else? This fool. Song Qian was cursing inside but showed an enticing smile on the outside. Little brother, where are you planning on going? None of your business. Zhuofan bypassed her with a snort. Song Qian's mouth was twitching as she shouted, We are on our way to 100 Pill Meeting. Why not join us? Zhua Fan paused, then turned. Drifting Flowers City, the home of Drifting Flowers Edifice, one of the 7 noble houses? Exactly. Nodded Song Yu as he rushed over. Drifting Flowers Edifice holds the 100-pill meeting once a decade. It is a gathering where famous alchemists from clans around the empire compete over their refining method. If luck would have it, the Drifting Flowers Edifice would take notice of you and take you in as a vassal clan. Zhua Fan scratched his nose. 100-pill meeting is bound to have plenty of rare ingredients, and the chance is high for me to find the treasures to restore the egg. He made a lopsided grin. Your words caught my interest. I would very much like to see the 100-pill meeting. Great. Let's go together. Song Qian jumped in joy. Zhua Fan smiled, assuming another identity while entering one of the 7 houses isn't a bad idea. The Song siblings were glad he agreed. With Zhua Fan's strength, nothing would stop them from reaching Drifting Flowers City. Oh, what do I call little brother? Luo Fan. Zhua Fan scratched his nose. He could no longer risk giving his real name, not since Blue Expanse City. He figured the entire Tianyu Empire was privy to his name by now. Then again, he was Luo clan's steward, and using their name was perfectly normal. Song Qian, Song Yu. The two introduced. Zhua Fan then followed the sister and entered the carriage, which had various ingredients strewn about, while the younger brother drove it. But Zhua Fan didn't even spare these plain items a glance. Song Qian kept making eyes with Zhua Fan, but seeing her efforts hit a wall, she turned awkwardly to look out the window. But then she burst into a giggle with a red face. Seeing this, Zhua Fan rolled his eyes. She either lost it or is smitten. I wouldn't have gone with them if I knew. Throughout the trip, Song Qian treated him like a rare breed, eyeing him at every chance. He tried his hardest in switching places with Song Yu, but the kid turned him down and he was forced to endure the doe eyes from Song Yu's sister. After a long half a month, the carriage slowly approached a city's gates. Song Yu laughed. Brother Luo, sister, we're here. About freakin' time. Zhua Fan stepped out in a rush from the red-hot gaze of the other passenger. But then he cursed when he noticed the gate. How in the hell is this Drifting Flowers City? Why did you even stop here? The plaque above the gate read, Orchid City. This wasn't under any of the 7 houses' jurisdiction, but the imperial family. Ha ha ha, Brother Luo, calm yourself. An old friend of my father stays here. We've come to Orchid City to buy ingredients from him before setting out to 100-pill meeting. Hearing this, Zhua Fan could only sigh. Will my suffering ever end? Song Qian stepped out and glared. Do you hate being around me? Zhua Fan just shrugged. But Song Yu laughed and revealed a vulgar smile. Brother Luo, I know exactly how you feel. I am the same, itching to get to Drifting Flowers City. They say the 15 overseers of Drifting Flowers Edifice are like fairies, and the edifice lord an outstanding beauty, proclaimed as the #1 beauty in the empire. If I can see her once, my life is fulfilled. Song Yu wore an intoxicated look. It was as if he could really see them, but then he woke up and noticed his sister looking glum and disdained. But even my sister's beauty is hard to come by. Although, how could a man pick just one, when the world is filled with ravishing beauties? Xiao Yu, what did you say? Song Qian heard him and her glare sent him shivering. Zhua Fan just shook his head. They're a pair of clowns, one love-struck, the other a moron. I need to get far away from them or I'll find myself at their level soon. Qianer. Their conversation was interrupted when they heard a shout. Song Qian stiffened, knowing who the person was. It came from a finely clothed young man, who looked casual and confident in his demeanor. He was around 20 years old and in the 4th layer of bone tempering stage. Song Qian however seemed not too eager in seeing him, giving an awkward greeting, Brother Tianlei. Song Yu also stiffened, whispering to Zhua Fan, he is Qi Tianlei, Orchid City's top clan's young master. The Qi clan is an old friend of ours, but they are a second-rate clan and they always make a point to show it. Also, Qi Tianlei is crazy for my sister. Zhua Fan sighed, already feeling regret following this pair. The Luo clan and Song clan were similar, but the former had the privilege of demonic emperor gracing them with his presence, elevating it to a first-rate clan. Similar people, different fates. Qianer, who's he? Even as Qi Tianlei was caressing Song Qian's fair hand, he was always watching the other two. But while his eyes were filled with contempt for Song Yu, it revealed only hostility towards Zhuofan. He is Brother Luo, our friend. Song Qian was fearful of Qi Tianlei, but even with a tremor in her voice, she tried to protect Zhuofan. She then rushed to change topics. Tianlei, how did you know we're coming today? I received Uncle Song's letter and estimated when you'd arrive. Qi Tianlei spoke casually, then marched before Zhuofan, pushing aside Song Qian who blocked his way. Who are you to Qianer? Brother Qi, he is my friend. Bam! Qi Tianlei slapped Song Yu away. I wasn't asking you. He turned toward Zhuofan with a wild look. Speak, what is there between you two? Zhuofan saw Song Qian helping her brother. Looking at their terrified states, he knew they were oppressed by this young master of the Qi clan. On our way, we ate together and slept together. We practically never left the carriage. You tell me if there's anything between us. Song Qian was shocked, knowing he did it just to spite Qi Tianlei. And Qi Tianlei's eyes were now bloodshot as he unleashed his power. Wretched filth, I will have your head, he declared as he threw himself at Zhuofan. But Zhuofan remained calm and unmoving. Then, a sudden sound was heard and a ripple spread from Zhuofan's chest. Ice-cold killing intent swept everyone's minds, freezing them. They were scared as rabbits, powerless to even resist it. Qi Tianlei looked as if he was seeing a demon from hell, shivering all the while. As for his fury, it vanished into nothing. Killing with intent was a Radiant Stage expert's absolute power. Zhuofan was no Radiant Stage expert, but his soul was strong enough to train in the Wraith Style's Necro-Dragon's Screech. It was far from being able to kill with intent, but enough to scare. This was a feat not even a profound heaven expert was capable of, yet a freak of nature like Zhuofan could. Strolling before the shivering Qi Tianlei, Zhuofan whispered in his ear, the next time you try showing off before me, I will end you. Qi Tianlei hit the ground with a thud and couldn't stop sweating. While the Song siblings stood shell-shocked. Chapter 86, Murder Fest. Chapter 86, Murder Fest. He scared them into submission without lifting a finger. Just how was he a bone-tempering cultivator? Song Qian and Song Yu saw a whole new Zhuofan and their hearts started racing. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure landed before Qi Tianlei. He checked the young master and became enraged finding him unconscious. Who did this? The newcomer whipped his head back and roared, his eyes flickering with flames of rage. But then he noticed Zhuofan and all of a sudden his anger diffused. Zhuofan frowned and took a much closer look at him. The man was around 40 years old, with a beard and at peak bone-tempering stage. From the fine clothes he was wearing, it was clear he was a clan head. Song Qian, who was roused from her shock by the shout, began apologizing with tears welling in her eyes. Forgive me, uncle, it's all my fault. Take it out on me. The man's eyes then noticed the Song siblings and his gloomy face cleared up with a laugh. Haha, so it is Qianer. I was wondering why this brat ran so fast to the city gate, seems like it was to welcome honored guests. So it was all a misunderstanding. Come, follow me to our home. You've come a long way to Orchid City, it must have been tiring. As your host, I'll do my best to make you comfortable. The man overlooked Qi Tianlei's situation and simply shouldered the unconscious fellow as he took the lead. The way he switched tunes real quick, and how he took sideway glances on and off at Zhuofan, the later felt it as a warning. What was all that about being looked down on by Qi clan? You were clearly trying to fool me. Zhuofan smirked, this uncle of yours cares for you even more than Qi Tianlei, ignoring even his scared silly son. Why would he? He is Qi Ganglai, the Qi clan head, and not once did he look kindly on us. Song Yu said confused, but today he's like a different person. Chi Tianlei is his only son, the apple of his eye. Something odd is going on for him to ignore his son's plight. Yeah, baffling. Zhuo Fan scoffed. Song Qian watched Qi Ganglai leave, then turned to the other two. What's so strange? He must be in a good mood today, so don't make assumptions. At least he didn't pursue it, or we would have been worse off. Just him. Zhuo Fan sneered. What could a peak bone tempering cultivator amount to when not even a profound heaven expert was a match for Zhuo Fan? As his strength grew exponentially, he felt the return of his confidence as the demonic emperor. But anyway, the Song siblings were clueless to his strength. Song Qian walked to him with quick steps, then rolled her eyes. I know you're great, but that's within the bone tempering stage. Could you handle a profound heaven expert? If you get on their bad side, not even we can help you. Zhuo Fan scoffed. Song Qian shook her head, but her eyes never left Zhuo Fan. His haughty and condescending attitude stirred her maiden heart. In fact, she felt oddly safe next to him, something she never felt with anyone before. The Qi clan welcomed the trio in their residence, and before they could leave to purchase any ingredients, the Qi clan head's message came that he wanted to reminisce with the siblings. Without a choice, Song Qian and Song Yu went to see Qi Ganglai while Zhuo Fan was left alone in the guest house. Now I can finally get some cultivation done in peace and quiet. 6 hours later, the door creaked open. Zhuo Fan, sitting on his bed, saw the Song siblings tiptoeing inside. Did you finish your talk with Qi Ganglai? Song Qian and Song Yu jumped in fright, then nodded woodenly, their eyes full of fear. What's up? Was that old coot hard on you? Zhuo Fan asked with suspicion. They both denied. The more Zhuo Fan looked at them, the more he felt his suspicion grow. Song Qian laughed dryly. Zhu dash, Brother Luo, Qi clan head is holding a feast in our welcome. Come join us. Zhuo Fan smiled. Since it is for you too, I won't go as I don't know him. You can't. Song Yu exclaimed, but tried to save the situation and dispel Zhuo Fan's doubts with a forced laughter. Brother Luo, this is the Qi clan's residence. The clan head even threw a welcoming feast for us. It would be crass of us if we are not present. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Do I have to? Yes. They both nodded. Zhuo Fan stood up with a sneer and said, lead the way. We must join the festivities if he went so far as to invite us, even if it ends up a murder fest. His words had the two siblings shivering and looking guilty. Arriving at the hall, they saw Qi Ganglai seated on the main seat with a smile while 9 other bone-tempering elders flanked his sides at a round table. Looking closely, the table had 3 lone empty seats in the furthest corner of the hall, with walls on either side of them. Zhuo Fan secretly mocked them. It's ridiculously obvious that they want to attack me. The fact my seat is in the worst possible position proves it. Can't you be any more obvious? He let out a faint smile and didn't let it get to him. Even if they attack together, their end is still the same. Zhuo Fan and the siblings arrived at their seats with a fake smile. Qianer, Xiao Yu, I am most pleased with your visit to our city. Uncle shall toast to you, for your success in the Drifting Flowers city and joining the Drifting Flowers edifice. Qi Ganglai laughed as he drank. The others followed suit and the Song siblings were no exception. Yet Zhuo Fan only brought the cup to his nose and then sported a wide and ineffable grin before placing it on the table. Qi Ganglai frowned a bit as the atmosphere grew tense. Ha ha ha, little brother is called Luo Fan, right? Qianer told me about you, how you looked after them on your journey. I shall toast in gratitude. Qi Ganglai drank another cup, yet Zhuo Fan was as still as a rock. This time, the people around the table eyed Zhuo Fan viciously. Qi Ganglai gave them looks to calm down and said, Brother Luo, I am the Qi clan head and am offering you a toast. Aren't you going to reply in kind? As wine takes a heavy toll on one's body, I have learned to abstain from drinking. Zhuo Fan grinned, and I'd recommend Qi clan head do the same. Who knows what mistakes one can make in their drunk haze. You might earn the ire of someone you should not and end up destroying yourself and your clan. His knuckles white on the cup, Qi Ganglai felt the sweat trickling down his brow. The others were also growing anxious. Taking a moment to calm his nerves, Qi Ganglai continued with a fake smile, "Little brother is wise beyond his age. I understand now how you could become a bone-tempering cultivator at such a young age. But a youth should be more impulsive and learn to live in the moment, enjoy the simple pleasures of life." Qi Ganglai laughed, hinting at the cup before Zhuofan. The latter shook his head, "Life is enjoyable as long as you have it. I am young and don't plan on leaving this wonderful world just yet." Losing his patience, Qi Ganglai rose from his seat and shouted, "What do you mean by this? Ha ha ha, cut the act. You know who I am, else you wouldn't have set up such an obvious trap." Zhuofan lifted his glass and tipped it. The wine touched the table and sizzled in white smoke before eating through it. 100 Bane Pill, refined from a 4th-grade spiritual beast, the scarlet poison python's venom. With a mocking grin, he stared at Qi Ganglai. "Most of all, these bone-tempering experts must be your elders. Even for a junior's welcoming feast, this is too much of an honor." Sigh, clan head, "It was really hard to fake overlooking it, you know." "Ha ha ha, can you be any more obvious?" Zhuofan's mockery had Qi Ganglai flushed with anger and gasping in an attempt to calm himself down. "Damn it! Since it fell through, then I'll cut to the chase." Qi Ganglai roared and his power froze the Song's siblings in their seats. "Zhuofan, you messed with Hell Valley and they issued the Hell Kill order on you, making you the #1 target of the Empire. Rather than let others have you, I'll take your head and claim the Hell Kill order's reward for myself. Elders, attack!" Chapter 87, Betrayal. Chapter 87, Betrayal. At Qi Ganglia's order, the 9 elders pounced. The tremendous pressure had the Song siblings frozen in panic, unable to move an inch. Yet Zhuofan smiled as he flipped the table. Boom! Among the splinters, there was no shadow of Zhuofan around. The elders looked around in a daze. He, here I am." The ridicule came from behind. They didn't even have time to turn as an elder's skull blew up in a spray of blood and gore. Zhuofan dusted a piece off his hand as he jeered, "The first." The elders were speechless from the show of strength Zhuofan displayed. He was in the same stage as them and was attacked from every direction, yet he still managed to pull off a kill. The rumors were true, you really are a monster. No wonder 7th Elder died at your hands. Qi Ganglia's eyes shivered as he watched Zhuofan in fear. Zhuofan looked down on him with a smile, "And you chose to attack anyway. Hell Valley can't hold me and you think you have what it takes. He, fortune favors the bold. The bigger the danger, the greater the reward." Qi Ganglai grinned as he charged with a crazed look. An image of a tiger appeared behind him as he charged. Mid-spirit ranked martial art, Tiger Fist. Roar! The tiger's image superimposed on Qi Ganglia's movements, but Zhuofan stood there with a sneer and punched out. Bam! The noise was jarring to the ears and the Song siblings were forced to curl up on the ground while hugging their heads. The tiger pushed Zhuofan 10 meters back, his legs leaving 2 trails in the floor while the tiger itself turned into golden motes of energy and died out. Then a blood-curdling scream resounded as Qi Ganglia's hand was split open. Clan head! The elders cried out in panic, yet the man only had eyes for Zhuofan, watching him in fear. God damn it, what kind of freak is he? How is he so damn hard? From their exchange, he knew he had the upper hand in terms of Yuan Qi, but Zhuofan's body was as hard as a rock as if it was freakin' refined to be a spiritual weapon. What the hell are you? Qi Ganglai panted, "You're no human." Smirking, Zhuofan's eyes gleamed with savagery, "Regardless, it doesn't concern you." He then took a step forward, mystifying phantom step. He appeared before 3 elders and struck before they could react, burying his fist into their chests. The elders were still baffled as to what happened to their clan head's hand, but now they finally figured out this little devil was inhuman. Where could one find a man who could casually punch through 3 bone-tempering experts? The Song siblings were dumbstruck. Although they had some semblance of knowledge about Zhuofan's abilities, this went beyond their wildest imaginations. Zhuofan's power allowed him to be in control despite surrounded by experts, even squashing them like bugs. This was absolute power. Everyone present there looked at him with grave faces and terrified minds. Zhuofan, I was rash and overconfident in provoking you. Please, on account of Qian'er and Xiaoyu, let us go and we will never cross paths again. Qi Ganglai knew the matter was only going to get worse and capitulated. However, Zhuofan wasn't someone who was soft when it came to punishing his enemies. He mocked, Qi clan head, I warned you to think twice about the consequences. And as for those two, Zhuofan turned to the siblings, since when do traitors have any value? Qi Ganglai, are you looking down on me, or do you really expect too much from them? Song Qian and Song Yu felt deep regret. Luo, no, brother Zhuo, we were forced to do it, please. Talk is cheap. Zhuofan cut off Song Qian with his frosty tone, actions are louder than words. Leave. And make sure we never meet again. Pursing her lips, Song Qian hung her head in regret while Song Yu sighed. Qi Ganglai saw Zhuofan unwilling to compromise and blew a gasket. Zhuofan, you will regret pitting yourself against my entire clan. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Can you take me down with you? Zhuofan sneered. Qi Ganglia's face alternated between green and white, spatting through gritted teeth, elders, all together. Yes, clan head. The remaining 5 elders jumped at Zhuofan in unison, each of them resigned to death, executing their best moves. Zhuofan knew they wanted to exchange their lives for his, but it mattered little. With a crackle, lightning flashed and his wings unfolded, flying around them. The 5 elders' moves hadn't even finished before they were split in two, splattering the ground in blood and painting it red. Humph, barely worth the effort. Zhuofan scoffed. Whoosh! Suddenly, a faint streak of blue rushed at Zhuofan. Zhuofan discovered Qi Ganglai sporting a sly grin. He used the elders as bait in releasing his true killing move, this dagger. You think you can beat me with this lousy trick? Zhuofan sneered as he flew. Yet just then, a tender cry followed by a graceful figure came right before him. Watch out! Following a grunt, blood splattered, and Song Qian struggled to stand with black blood flowing from her mouth. Sister! With a wail, Song Yu rushed to catch her weak body. But Song Qian only had eyes for Zhuofan, working hard to muster the strength to look at him. Forgive us, we didn't want it to come to this. Zhuofan just sighed. Damn bitch, you ruined everything. I will kill you. Having his plan thwarted, Qi Ganglai flew into a rage and charged at the siblings. Snorting, Zhuofan's wings flickered like swords. In a blink, Qi Ganglai stopped and fell to pieces, with blood and viscera oozing. The Qi clan experts were vanquished. Zhuofan then started inspecting Song Qian's wound. He noticed the dagger stuck in her shoulder, and black blood seeping around its blade. He pulled it out and frowned, it's poisonous. Poison? Song Yu grew frantic and was close to tears, it must be one of the Qi clan's poisons. I will check their stores to see if they have an antidote. Sister, you must hold on. Song Yu wiped his tears and left. Wait! Zhuofan jumped to his feet to stop Song Yu, but a frail hand caught his arm. He looked down at the pale Song Qian. Don't go! Song Qian's faint voice came. Zhuofan gave a curt nod and steadied her by placing his palm on her back. I only wanted to tell your brother this poison can be removed with Yuan Qi. Ha ha ha, he is always impulsive, unlike you. A faint smile adorned Song Qian's wan face and her delicate hand touched his. A pair of glistening eyes locked his own in an unshakable gaze that unnerved Zhuofan. He felt as if they were back in the carriage. Worried about her state, he rushed to clear the poison. However, when his Yuan Qi entered her body he found a problem. Why can't I find its source? This hardly ever happened. Based on his experience, there were 2 reasons. 1, because she never got poisoned, and 2, this type of poison couldn't be sensed with Yuan Qi. He found Song Qian's health deteriorating and came to a decision. Since Yuan Qi was useless, the second method implied drawing out the poison. But the wound's close position to her chest made it hard not to encroach upon her dignity. This will make it terribly awkward. Chapter 88, Trap. Chapter 88, Trap. What is it? Song Qian found Zhuofan making an odd expression and asked. After muttering to himself, Zhuofan spoke, that is, the only choice is to suck the poison out. Song Qian understood from his hesitation and her pale face was tinted pink. Then, sorry to trouble you, Song Qian's soft voice rang hard in his ears. The delicate and charming look would stir anyone's sympathy. Licking his dry lips, Zhuofan ripped her clothes around the wound and exposed her fair skin. Song Qian shuddered as she closed her eyes with a red face. She knew what was about to happen, but when her clothes tore, she still gasped. Then, 1,000 pardons, Miss Song. Zhuofan forced a smile in this awkward situation and neared his mouth to the wound, beginning to draw the poison out. But the longer he sucked, the more doubts sprouted. Why is the blood spicy? Why is Song Qian's blood normal, as if she wasn't poisoned to begin with? However, he pushed aside all conflicting thoughts and kept sucking to make sure she was out of harm's way, that is, until her blood turned scarlet again. I've taken most of the poison out, so there should be no problems. Zhuofan let out a breath he was holding, but his eyes were clouded with more doubts. Then, a smoking hot body hugged him and 2 tender arms curled around his neck. Zhuofan was startled. Miss Song, what? Song Qian's hot breath entered his ear. Zhuofan, do you know? I liked you the moment I saw you. Zhuofan's eyes darted left and right, his tone wavering. Miss Song, your brother will be here soon. Never mind him. Song Qian's tongue left a trail on his cheek, making him feel as if a bolt of lightning had struck him. I only want you next to me. She didn't give him the chance to put up any resistance as she drew his head into a hot kiss. As his eyes grew lost, his heart was thoroughly shocked and his mind blanked. He reached the demonic emperor level because he always had cultivation in his mind, taking into account every step, every detail. So much so, he had overlooked the matters between a man and a woman. When Luo Yunchang and Lei Yuding stole a peck, it floored him, but this time, his mind was literally blown. Damn it, I was born twice and a virgin each time, but never did I come upon such a battle. Then, Zhuofan's eyes flared with irritation and pushed Song Qian away. What did you just give me? In his daze, he could still feel something entering his mouth and dissolving. Song Qian cried as she hit the ground, then a burst of laughter echoed around him. Ha ha ha, something marvelous, I'm sure. A black figure appeared and threw a large transparent bell over Zhuofan. Zhuofan exclaimed, 4th grade defensive spiritual weapon. Ha ha ha, indeed. This is the Qi clan's treasure, Violet Canopy. The black figure landed in front of Zhuofan and revealed itself to be an aged man. His eyes were filled with glee and rancor. You're the Qi clan's profound heaven expert. Zhuofan tried to get up but his head swooned, falling back to his knees. What's going on? Am I poisoned? Ha ha ha, that's a powerful toxin of the Qi clan, Soul Devourer. The old man mocked, it targets one's soul and no one beneath Radiant Stage can last more than 2 hours. Even they will die 3 days later without our antidote. Zhuofan frowned. The old man saw through him and cackled, you must be wondering how you got poisoned? He, let me tell you. The dagger wasn't poisoned, it was only dabbed in something to change the blood's color. The true poison was on Shen'er's shoulder, which you were more than happy to suck out. 2 more figures walked next to Song Qian at this moment, Song Yu and Qi Tianlei. Song Qian and Song Yu appeared to be eaten by guilt, avoiding Zhuofan's eyes. But Qi Tianlei stared right at him through the cover he was in, with deep-seated hatred. You killed my dad. I will tie you to horses and have you ripped to pieces. Humph, I've seen my fair share of dishonorable old goats, but your Qi clan's elders take the cake. Zhuofan jeered, if I'm not mistaken, Qi Ganglai was the bait from the start, expecting me to kill him. In other words, you've all given up on him from the get-go. Having been exposed, Qi Tianlei was left speechless. But no matter how true it was, none of them would dare speak of it. Else he would earn the world's unanimous hatred and reviled gazes when word got out that a rotten son like him threw his father to the wolves all so he could snatch a bounty. Humph, who are you trying to deceive? Zhuo Fan sneered at the old man, you sure know how to play a big hand, using the clan head and 9 elders as small fries. The old man disregarded Zhuo Fan's jab with a laugh and, I gave up my son, but I still have a grandson. It's all worth it for your head. Once we become Hell Valley's #1 vassal clan, we can have as many elders as we want, we will be stronger than ever. This little loss is nothing compared to the future glory of the Qi clan. Ha ha ha, that's how the ambitious act, shameless. Zhuo Fan praised, then derided them, but in the end, that old mind of yours is too narrow. You're paying such a heavy price only to become Hell Valley's #1 lapdog. You're bound to fail. If it were me, I would become the ruler of the continent with what you paid. Is this kid nuts? Can you even grasp how large the Tianyu Empire is, not to mention the continent? Just another loud mouth. The old man sneered, now I know why you are so reviled, so set against Hell Valley. You're clearly insane. How can one common man possibly rule the entire continent? Humph, what does an ant know of the human stepping on it? Zhuo Fan shook his head and asked, oh, I forgot to mention, but I do dab in alchemy myself, you know? If her shoulder had poison on it, I would have known. He, I heard you killed Yugiki. This speaks volumes of your own twisted mind for having fought him. You think we'd use common poison when dealing with you? The old man took on a haughty tone, Soul Devourer is a combination of 2 different medicines. One was on Shenner's shoulder and the other was the one you just swallowed. Was that what she made me take when she kissed me? Precisely. That was also for her own safety. If she hadn't fed it to you, she'd be the one dying. The old man let out a manic grin, to end you, I have scoured every bit of rumor and information about you, most of all about you sticking your head out for a little girl and offending Hell Valley. I know you're just one big softy inside. How ironic this came to be your downfall. Zhuo Fan mocked himself, who knew my fight with Yugiki was twisted into a hero saving a damsel. Then again, it is true. Also, saving a woman was the first thing I did after I rebirthed, wasn't it? Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan was this close to labeling himself a lecher. Hey, old goat, you sure employ vicious schemes, no less than Yugiki. Why thank you. The old man stuck his chin out in pride, Yugiki only had the luck of the draw in being born in one of the 7 houses. If I had such privilege, my achievements would have dwarfed his. Do you know what I'm called? Steel Fettering River, Qi Weilin, he. Zhuo Fan had a grin himself, Steel Fettering River, neither good nor bad. The one in your clutches can't beg for life, nor can die. Precisely. Qi Weilin laughed, speaking as if to a close friend, you see, this is the first time you've heard of me and you can already appreciate my title. No wonder you could beat Yugiki. I would hate to remove that pretty head of yours, but too bad it's worth so much. Think you have what it takes to reap my head? Zhuo Fan mocked as his glabella lit up. Whoosh! An azure flame revealed itself along with a black smoke drifting out from it. The Soul Devourer was reduced to nothing before the power of this flame. Zhuo Fan took his time getting back to his feet and surveyed the people with killing intent. I told Yugiki something when I killed him, and now I shall repeat it for you. In front of true power, all schemes and ploys are moot. Chapter 89, Cold-Blooded Slaughter. Chapter 89, Cold-Blooded Slaughter. P4553R. How could this be? Zhuo Fan's casual rise to his feet left everyone astonished, especially Qi Weilin. The Soul Devourer passed on through generations, a radiant stage expert killer, was dealt with just like that? What is that? Qi Weilin now noticed the azure flame on Zhuo Fan's forehead and exclaimed, did that thing remove the poison? The flame vanished the next second and Zhuo Fan had a wicked grin plastered on his face. Ha ha ha, the dead needn't worry too much. All of them were startled and took a step back. They saw the terror Zhuo Fan could unleash and his words only worked to unnerve them. But Qi Weilin gathered his courage when he noticed the violet canopy was still around Zhuo Fan. There's no need to worry, the brat is trapped under my spiritual weapon. There's no way. Roar! He didn't get the chance to finish his flimsy reasoning as a dragon roar echoed and a black light ran through his chest. With a jerk, Qi Weilin was left bleeding from his mouth. What just happened? As Qi Weilin wiped the blood away, he felt his body growing colder. His life was seeping away yet he couldn't understand why. He looked towards Qi Tianlei and the Song's siblings only to find them staring at his chest. Qi Weilin looked down and discovered a fist-sized black hole spurting blood. He noticed an identical hole at his back too. It was as if something had burrowed through his chest. How did this happen? Qi Weilin couldn't comprehend what had happened even on the brink of his death. But when he looked at Zhuo Fan, his eyes narrowed. Zhuo Fan was gasping beneath the violet canopy after using close to half of his energy, but his hand was still in the form of a dragon claw. It just so happened that there was also a fist-sized hole in the canopy, aligned with his chest. Only now did the horror and dread of what transpired got to Qi Weilin, monster. To force your way through a 4th-grade spiritual weapon, with only your body strength. Bam! His body hit the ground hard, his eyes were still shocked and incredulous of what came to pass. Zhuo Fan killed him in an instant despite being trapped. Not even a profound heaven expert could display such power if they were in Zhuo Fan's place. He is an abomination that will end my clan. Along with the fear Qi Weilin felt, there was now endless regret. Ah! Song Qian cried in terror while fleeing. Qi Tianlei and Song Yu's knees softened, shivering all the while they ran alongside her. Gasping, Zhuo Fan showed a vile smile of delight. Wraith-style second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. Among the profound ranked martial arts, Zhuo Fan could only employ one move fully, yet it still sapped half of his strength. But the power makes it all worth it. The Wraith style was suited to a body cultivator, the stronger the body, the more outrageous the blows. However, the end result exceeded Zhuo Fan's imagination. It was a perfect match for his 5th-grade demonic treasure body. At first, he only thought of giving it a shot in breaking the 4th-grade spiritual weapon. Yet the results showed that the spiritual weapon was like paper in front of the ghostly dragon claw. I was right in my course of action. Since my freaky body refining worked, a stronger martial art was only fitting. Zhuo Fan revealed a radiant smile. Then, his wings whipped out with a flurry. Rumble. The broken violet canopy turned to pieces and Zhuo Fan eyed the trio in the distance with coldness. His wings flapped and he was on them in seconds. He then blocked their retreat and the trio stumbled to the ground with pale faces. Go ahead, run. Zhuo Fan's vile smile was a prelude to the horror that followed. Let's see who's faster, me or you. Why, young Master Zhuo, the Qi clan was blind not to see your greatness. You killed my grandfather and my dad, please let me go. Qi Tianlei was so scared by Zhuo Fan's twisted grin that he was pounding the ground with his forehead, all the while shedding bitter tears. Zhuo Fan gave a faint smile and hoisted him by his neck. Now that you said it, it's best I kill you too, to accompany them in death. Black tendrils left Zhuo Fan and burrowed into Qi Tianlei. In but seconds, Qi Tianlei was turned to dust, scattered to the 4 winds. The Song siblings were close to having a mental breakdown witnessing such a gruesome murder. Zhuo Fan smiled, is there anything you want to say at this point? In the end, it was Song Qian who spoke through trembling lips, Brother Zhuo, we were compelled. The Song clan is a minor clan and can't offend even the Qi clan. Let my life douse your anger, but please leave the Song clan our last heir. Sister. Song Yu's tears flowed unabated as Song Qian looked at him with tenderness. Zhuo Fan shook his head with a mutter, you are just like them, with your clan in dire straits, and compelled to lower yourself. He then turned around and looked at the white sky with a sigh, I wonder what they are doing right now. Wonder if my actions brought them more hardships. Are you speaking of Luo clan? Song Qian ventured. Zhuo Fan smiled, indeed. You are so much alike that it makes it hard for me to do this. The siblings broke out a faint smile, but then came Zhuo Fan's cold tone, such a pity, there is one part you are different in. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan's wings whipped and the siblings' heads traveled through the air before plopping on the ground. What made it even eerier was the faint smile of forlorn hope. You two are far shrewder. Zhuo Fan jeered, you two knew from where I come from and enacted such a heartfelt play thinking I was a moron. This is where you diverge from their demeanor, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan left, uncaring of the corpses or the consequences, not even of the wails coming from the Qi clan's home. A month later, 3 figures landed in the Qi clan's manor. They were dressed in gray and their leader was Hell Valley's second elder. He watched everything with a calculative eye and muttered, how come the Qi clan is so quiet? Humph, they have the nerve to say that they have clues about the runt and when we come, there's no one here at all. Another elder curse, what is a mere second-rate clan trying to pull? Second elder huffed and then shouted, no, there's something wrong here. Third elder, fourth elder, check the surroundings. Moments after they left, a cry came from the back of Qi clan's manor, second elder, third elder, come and take a look at this. Both of them appeared in a blink, but the sight left them speechless. What used to be a garden was now a cemetery housing 1,000 dead bodies in a towering pile. The rot assaulted their noses and painted an even gruesome picture with the swarm of flies around it. That punk is savage. He killed the whole Qi clan. Second elder spat. The other two were overwhelmed by the image of a kid ripping apart fleeing people and came to realize they were a far cry from his level when it came to viciousness. Such cold-blooded slaughter of an entire clan only came from offending the Tianyu Empire or the Seven Houses. Second elder grew frantic, elders, handle the corpses so that no one finds out about this. Why? Fool, if anyone comes to know of the dread this runt can instill, who else will muster the nerve to search for him? Second elder cursed, humph, Qi Weilin liked to flaunt himself as an equal for our seventh elder. He must have planned on taking the kid down all by himself and earning the reward. Look at what greed does to people. Overconfident fool. Scoffing, second elder left as a towering flame rose behind him. It swallowed the manor and the corpses, leaving only the ashes of the renowned Qi clan. An elder gazed upon the raging fire and asked, second elder, what now? We separate. The look in second elder's eyes hardened, the 3 of us will go different ways. One of us is sure to be on the right track. What about the 4th direction? The elder frowned, if not for grand elder being in seclusion, the 4 of us would have been enough. Second elder shook his head, there's no need to concern ourselves with that direction. It leads to Drifting Flowers City. If the brat dares to step foot in it, he'll have to face the 5th elder. Then he flew away. The other 2 elders also picked a direction and left. What was left behind was a desolate and eerie place, void of people. So came to pass the number 1 clan in Orchid City, destroyed to the roots. Chapter 90, Scapegoat. Chapter 90, Scapegoat. The spring breeze rustles the shore's willow. I am riding in search of pills. One does not know the one he is facing. All because he can't gaze beyond his nose. This was the singing voice of a youth, who was driving his cart slowly on a road. If the Qi clan's recently departed ghosts were here, they'd be shocked to the core. Wasn't this their carriage? Wasn't the youth Song Yu? Didn't he die? However, there was one thing out of place. This youth had a devious grin on his face, enough to scare the most wretched ghosts. His smile closely resembled that demon who annihilated their entire Qi clan. Ho! The youth reined in the horses as he gazed to the distance, at the 3 words emblazoned on the gate, Drifting Flowers City. I'm here at last. I hope this place has life-saving herbs, or it would be a true waste of time coming here. The youth grinned as he snapped the reins. But a shout delayed him, stop. Following the yell, 6 people appeared around him. The youth gave them a once-over and rose an eyebrow. Hell Valley? Oh, quite perceptive. You recognize us? The leader scrutinized the youth in amazement. From the way you look, you seem like some clan's young master. State your name. The youth asked in puzzlement. Shouldn't Drifting Flowers City be managed by Drifting Flowers Edifice? Why? Cut the chat. A cursing voice cut him off. Hurry it up before I lose my patience. If this place didn't belong to Drifting Flowers Edifice, I would have killed you just from you being so slow on the uptake. The youth frowned, his eyes flashing with killing intent before suppressing it. I am Song Yu and hail from Nitrain City's Song clan. Father commanded me to participate in the 100-pill meeting. This is my clan's seal. He fished out an engraved jade from his bosom. The leader looked over it and nodded. Meanwhile, his men rummaged through the carriage and they too nodded. Fine, you can go. But if you catch sight of this man, notify us at once. The man gave the youth a sidelong glance as he handed over a roll of paper before leaving. Once the men were out of sight, the youth regarded the unfolded paper with a sneer. It was the Hell Kill order on Zhuofan along with an impeccable drawing of his features. On the bottom of the paper, rewards were stated. Anyone who provided clues to his whereabouts could become a vassal to Hell Valley, and whoever brings his head could become the foremost among all of Hell Valley's vassal clans. Humph, they really can't see beyond their nose. How can you find someone you don't even recognize? He mocked as he rolled the kill order into a ball before throwing it away. Indeed, this youth was Zhuofan. After damning the Qi clan, he was aware that everyone in the Tianyu Empire would be privy to his face. So he refined a little pill that turned him into Song Yu and resumed his way to Drifting Flowers City. This would work wonders in searching for treasures unperturbed by narrow-minded fools. And wearing the Song clan young master's identity would also leave Hell Valley grasping straws. As he entered the city he realized how grand it was, a perfect match for the headquarters of Drifting Flowers Edifice. It was a city, true, but it was 10 times more expansive than an average city. By contrast, Windgaze City and Blue Expanse City looked like towns. Especially when it came to the people on the streets. There were many young masters of clans wandering about, but the difference was they were all from first-rate clans. These young heirs were more important than the clan head or elders of a third-rate clan. This made the third-rate young master, whom Zhuofan was impersonating, look like a beggar. With a bitter smile, he snapped the reins for picking up speed. He'd best find lodgings fast or he'd feel dwarfed in this crowd. He assumed that posing as Song Yu was a walk in the park. But now that he got here, he knew that third-rate clansmen were a rarity as most of the people in the city were from the second and first-rate clans. Instead of blending in, I became the odd one out. Zhuofan's carriage creaked down the street before finally stopping in front of a tavern. Owner, do you have a room available? Zhuofan asked the man at the counter. The man looked up, then returned to counting his profit. Hey, now you really aren't looking beyond your nose. Zhuofan was getting irate fast and slapped the counter as he roared, do you have a room or not? You think I don't have the coin for it? Looking up at him again, the owner said in a laid-back manner, show me the clan's seal. Zhuofan was a bit shocked at this. Even a shop owner asks for it now. But he still chose to take it out. The owner got one look at it and jeered, yeah, just the Song clan, a third-rate clan. And what's wrong with that? Didn't you open this establishment to make money? Are mine unwelcome here? Shaking his head, the owner patted Zhuofan's shoulder, and impersonating a wise sage, he counseled, young man, there's a rundown hut 3 miles out. It won't charge you a dime. Zhuofan blinked in shock, then rage burned in his eyes, owner, even I know those are the slums. Even if I come from a third-rate clan, I am still a guest in your tavern and should be treated as one. The owner sighed but didn't pay him any more heed. Then sudden laughter drifted over. Ha ha ha, Song Yu, you hick. You came for the 100-pill meeting without even knowing the rules of Drifting Flowers City? Zhuofan's heart seized, how come the first place I visit, someone ends up recognizing Song Yu? He saw a flashy young master coming down the stairs with 4 elders in tow, bone tempering experts. That person himself was at the 5th layer of bone tempering stage. On his left was a cute young lady, not a beauty but one worthy of appreciation. But the lady only looked at Zhuo Fan with despise. Zhuo Fan narrowed his eyes as his mind was going a mile a minute in his curses. Damn brat, you got what you deserved. I spent half a month traveling with you yet you didn't say anything about the ones you know here. I should have seen this coming. In any case, the young master saw Zhuo Fan keyed up and laughed. Brat, are you still a scaredy cat? No wonder my little sister doesn't like you. As if on cue, the lady snorted. Zhuo Fan licked his dry lips in embarrassment and said, brother is quite right. Since you do not welcome me, I shall leave. Hey, wait. Just as Zhuo Fan was planning on leaving, the young master called out to him, his face tinted in suspicion. Strange, something is off with you today. What brother this and that, why are you calling me in such an odd way? Zhuo Fan secretly cursed his bad luck, thinking he was exposed. If that happened, Hell Valley would come storming in and his plans would go up in smoke. All the more reason he was itching to snap this punk's neck. Oh, right. The young master interrupted his inner cursing by coming up with a seamless explanation. Don't tell me you're still mad that Warner turned down your marriage proposal and ruined your self-esteem. Are you so petty to be still brooding over it after all this time? When he heard this, Zhuo Fan's eyes sparkled and his heart leaped. It was as if he was grasping straws while drowning and finally found purchase. He instantly changed his demeanor and faked anger. Humph, don't mention it then. We are done here. I don't want to see you guys ever again. Sigh, this is where you are wrong. Why are you dragging me into yours and my sister's problems? The young master shook his head, then his eyes shifted as he said in an understanding tone, don't forget, we are close as brothers, lifting our spears together and together, he. This, Zhuo Fan understood perfectly. The way he looks, he must be a second-rate clan's young master. How did Song Yu get to befriend him? And by the looks of things, they're buddy-buddy too. Then again, this might not be so bad. Zhuo Fan's lascivious smile mimicked his, he, a real man doesn't boast about his past glory. You don't need to say it. What? I last longer than you by far. I can take 8 rounds while you only 5, the young master then made an obvious gesture toward Zhuo Fan. If not for his sister's presence, he'd be going in much more gory details. Sigh, those 3 days and 3 nights were a bliss. Zhuo Fan saw his intoxicated face and adjusted accordingly. Though the lady there stated her disagreement with her disgusted reply, gross. She then proceeded to walk out of the tavern and let the 2 perverts to their vile imagination. Chapter 91, Chit-Chat. Chapter 91, Chit-Chat. P4553R. Zhuo Fan and the young master were like best pals now, chit-chatting what all young men talked about those days. This worked to Zhuo Fan's advantage, finding all the particularities regarding Song Yu's past. Dong Tianba belonged to an average-sized town's leading clan, considered a second-rate clan in the empire, but far stronger than the Song clan. Not too long ago, Dong Tianba's father sent him on business to Nitrain City, where this young master hit it right off with the dastardly Song Yu. The moment Song Yu found that his friend was from a second-rate clan, he took it in stride, drinking and going to pleasure houses, not forgetting to act the haughty part that deigned his new position, and all of this alongside his friend. It went so far that Dong Tianba was even planning on giving his sisters, Dong Xiaowan, hand in marriage to Song Yu. Song Yu was close to going crazy from joy as that was the greatest gift any from the Song clan would want. As all was set and done, he went straight to proposing. Unfortunately, Dong Xiaowan was the only daughter of the Dong clan, the apple of her grandfather's eye, so how could he let Dong Tianba decide her fate? As a result, when his grandfather found Song Yu's social standing, his dastardly moral talent, the grandfather catapulted him out of his home and even rebuked his grandson. As for Dong Xiaowan, she never forgave her dear elder brother for bringing up such a proposal. I am your sister and you want to throw me to that pig? He is a greedy slacker. While the Dong clan saw Song Yu for what he was, a sorry excuse of a man, Dong Tianba found him as his dearest of friends, going out with every chance he got. What greedy slacker! He is true to himself, unlike those hypocritical gentlemen. Dong Tianba recalled that encounter with a smile, feeling he let down his dear friend in Nitrain City. It was also thanks to him for having notified the Song clan of the 100-pill meeting that they sent Song Yu to the gathering. He hoped Song Yu would use this chance to climb the ranks and dismiss the Dong clan's despising glances. With a bit of luck, the Song clan would be under Drifting Flowers Edifice's care and the Dong clan would have nothing to say if he asked for Dong Xiaowan's hand again. Zhuo Fan gave a bitter smile at the side. This is one odd elder brother. The rotten Song Yu just invited him to a drink a couple of times and he is ready to throw his sister in the former's lap. If I were the Dong grandfather, I would have tanned his rear to a paste. Furthermore, how come you push your sister on others you like while you yourself are unmarried? Zhuo Fan shook his head, worried over the happiness of the Dong clan and Dong Tianba's sister. Even the 4 elders behind them were red-faced with humiliation from having such a weirdo for a young master. They even looked around at times to make sure no one heard him. Zhuo Fan sighed, birds of a feather flock together. Bro Song. Dong Tianba beckoned him with a strange smile, where's your sister? Zhuo Fan replied, she left after bringing me here. I made sure to personally see her off. He had an ineffable smile when he said personally. But it went over Dong Tianba's head who was downcast. And I really wanted to gaze upon Miss Song one more time. I would have long sent the dowry if not for my old man refusing to have anything to do with your clan. Ha ha ha, the world houses countless beauties, bro Dong needn't hang on just one. Zhuo Fan smiled, my sister doesn't deserve you. Look around, there are countless girls in Drifting Flowers City to feast your eyes on. Sigh, bro Song, you wouldn't understand. You can't touch any of the girls here. Dong Tianba made sure no one was around before whispering, don't you know that the Drifting Flowers edifice is unique among the 7 houses for only having women? For 1,000 years, they had men marry into their house. This is a place where women reign. Does that mean you can't even chase girls? Dong Tianba had a deep look this time, bro, how come I feel like I know you less and less? Don't you know chasing and harassing have different meanings? Zhuo Fan laughed in dismay, yeah, you're absolutely right. Bro Dong is a genius. Ha ha ha, we both are. Didn't we used to swap pointers? How could you forget? Must be from the blow my sister's refusal gave you that you succumbed to your vices. Zhuo Fan nodded repeatedly. Dong Tianba was an oddball, but quite true to others. Talking with him all this time made Zhuo Fan feel at ease. By the way, Brother Dong, what other rules are there? Like this tavern. Almost forgot. Dong Tianba spoke in a heavy tone, because of the massive influx of people throughout the 100-pill meeting, the Drifting Flowers edifice has laid some rules regarding lodging. The third-rate clans are to stay in the poor district, the second-rate clans in the taverns and the first-rate clans are welcomed by the 15-floor keepers. The 7 noble houses. There are people from the 7 noble houses here? Zhuo Fan raised a question. Dong Tianba nodded, that is only natural. The 7 houses might be plotting and scheming among each other, but Drifting Flowers edifice is neutral. It is expected for 2-3 houses to be here, welcomed personally by the edifice lord. At the very least, Hell Valley is certain to be here. Zhuo Fan gasped. That explained the Hell Valley's disciples at the gate. They weren't purposely placed in every city for searching him in particular, but because they followed someone important from their house to participate in the 100-pill meeting. The one who must be representing Hell Valley had to be an elder, or maybe their valley lord. Who came from Hell Valley? Zhuo Fan asked frantically. Wrinkling his brows, Dong Tianba shook his head. But then a man burst through the door huffing, young master, the young miss is in trouble. Dong Tianba jumped to his feet and rushed with the 4 elders. Zhuo Fan was right behind them. They arrived at a market. There were many people standing at the sideline in silence. A fine and charming lady stood in front of a stall, holding a delicate piece of jewelry. Her phoenix eyes darted towards the crying woman on the ground. Dong Xiaowan's cheeks were swollen as tears streamed her stinging face. Anyone there would realize she was slapped, and not just once or twice. Dong Tianba hurried to help his sister as he roared, "Xiaowan, what happened? Who did this? Brother, let's just go." Dong Xiaowan held in her sobs while taking a side glance at the stuck-up lady in red. "Who said you can leave?" the lady said with malice. Her sharp eyes stabbed like swords and made Dong Xiaowan shiver. "I told you to slap yourself 100 times. Aren't you skipping some from 30? No matter who you think you are, I can make your whole clan burn if I want to." Crestfallen and shivering, Dong Xiaowan started slapping herself and her already swollen face began growing redder and bulgier along with the tears of humiliation. Dong Tianba grabbed her hands and snapped, "Xiaowan, stop. Why are you doing this? Brother, it's all my fault." Dong Xiaowan cried, "I wanted to buy that item, but she..." Dong Tianba heard it clearly even if her voice trailed off. He turned his flaming eyes of rage to the lady in red. "I get that you wanted to take the jewelry from my sister's hand, but why do you have to be so heavy-handed?" "Ha ha ha, I asked her politely, but she kept being rude to me and didn't know what's good for her." The lady mocked and threw the jewelry to the ground in spite. "Now I lost all interest in it. So how can I not teach her manners for this?" The lady's naked contempt made Dong Tianba spit words through gritted teeth. "Bitch, I will make you regret this, or my name isn't Dong Tianba." He then went charging over. With how the lady was but in the 9th layer of qi condensation, his power was more than enough to deal with her. Unfortunately, a gale stopped him as a white figure flashed in front of him. Bam! The noise echoed around as Dong Tianba was sent flying into the air and in his previous place landed a handsome youth in white, fanning himself, 7th layer of bone tempering stage. Such a disciple was considered the cream of the crop among the 7 houses. Zhua Fan's eyelid trembled and his feet moved. Dong Tianba and his 4 elders were nowhere near enough to deal with the newcomer. If he was impassive, this pair of siblings would experience a world of hurt today. But if he did act, he would earn a world of trouble, affecting his plans. But this bitch was too ruthless, she was asking for a beating. Not even he, a demonic emperor, could take this lying down. When all was said and done, some things couldn't be held in. This was his demonic path. Chapter 92, Only a Game. Chapter 92, Only a Game. P4553R. Dandan, what happened? The white youth turned a blind eye to Dong Tianba and focused on the red lady. She, on the other hand, had only naked disdain for the Dong clan, nothing of importance, just some blind dogs yapping at my feet. Oh, they must be truly ignorant to offend Peony Edifice's Grand Miss Xiao, ha ha ha, the youth mocked. His words caused widespread shock, especially to Dong Tianba. What? The Peony Edifice? Belonging to the Drifting Flowers Edifice? Dong Tianba looked towards his terrified sister in a daze. That was why his sister was so set on bearing this humiliation. No one from the 7 noble houses could be offended, or one's entire clan would go extinct. Wanner, how? Dong Tianba sighed at his tear-stained sister, feeling how wronged she was. Xiao Dandan couldn't care less for their plight and glared at Dong Tianba. Weren't you about to hit me? Well, what's stopping you? Dong Tianba's body shivered and started to regret his transgression. I was at fault for not noticing your grandeur and offending Miss in my rash action. Please pardon me. Pardon, how are you guilty? Xiao Dandan sneered, you just said that I coveted your sister's item and then humiliated her. Sticking out for her is only normal, but do you have the strength to back it up? Gnashing his teeth, Dong Tianba cupped his hands. Miss lesson is that I am powerless and still dared to strike. He then slapped himself 6 times and his face swelled. The people around shook their heads. Stumbling upon any from the 7 houses was bound to bring humiliation to your entire clan. Humph, such filth, not in the least bit entertaining. Xiao Dandan grinned, why are men such cowards, lacking the basic mettle to stand tall? Then, she came up with a great idea that brought a smile to her lips. Brother Tianyu, Why not have some fun with him? Dandan, what are you suggesting? The youth in white smiled. With a sweet smile, Xiao Dandan replied, this kid must be quite fond of his sister. You're quite able in martial arts and such an understanding character, so this should be convenient for you. If you can shred that girl's clothes under the protection of those 5 bone-tempering experts, she's yours to indulge in. The drifting flowers edifice will even turn a blind eye. What? Dong Xiaowan shivered and Dong Tianba's eyes were bloodshot. This was no longer picking on others, but disgracing. Even if they were from the 7 houses, this was something the common people wouldn't stand for. Yet the youth in white waved her proposal off. Dandan, you've gravely misunderstood me. I come from merry woods, but that doesn't imply that I'm lecherous. You're making it hard for me to accomplish your request, ha ha ha. Your expression doesn't seem to be saying so. Fine, I don't mind it at all. So what are you worried about? I'll be yours next July anyway. You'll still get to join the Drifting Flowers edifice regardless. The youth in white rose an eyebrow, then turned an appreciative eye over Dong Xiaowan. Since Dandan requests it, I must comply. But keep in mind, this is only a game, so don't go settle the score later. Despicable. Xiao Dandan rose the corner of her mouth. The youth in white walked towards Dong Xiaowan, who shivered at each of his steps. Ha ha ha, I am Lin Tianyu of Merry Woods, a future son-in-law of Drifting Flowers edifice. As you heard, I'm not lecherous and an insufferable bully, it is you who offended my future wife and have to be punished for your transgression. Young Master Lin. Dong Tianba said in pain, I am well aware of misgame and I would like to know if, by some fluke, we can stop your advance. Lin Tianyu just let out a mocking laughter and Xiao Dandan replied instead, if you can, then this matter will end here and we shall never have anything to do with each other. Then please forgive this offense. Dong Tianba roared and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit, having heard what he wanted. Yet Lin Tianyu's contempt only grew. Good eyes, but... Whoosh! A figure flitted by and Lin Tianyu was already behind Dong Xiaowan. His hand even held the delicate clothes of the latter. Too bad you're so weak. Ah! Dong Xiaowan cried as she covered her shoulder in tears. She was wearing 5 articles of clothing, and one was gone just like that, revealing the white and delicate skin beneath. Dong Tianba turned in shock. Lin Tianyu's speed was incredible. But Zhuo Fan only smirked. This kid is in the 7th layer of bone tempering stage, but his power is only in the 6th layer. His focus must be on speed. This was a typical case of putting the cart before the horse. No matter how fast you were, if you couldn't harm your opponent, it was useless. And he was already weaker than others by 1 layer. The more he'd advance, the more the gap would widen. To Zhuo Fan, such a cultivator was no different from a cripple. No wonder the Merry Woods sent him to marry into Drifting Flowers edifice. However, this was privy to an expert's eyes alone. Dong Tianba was nowhere near that level, as he was even standing around scared from the display of speed. Elders, surround my sister. Dong Tianba shouted at the 4 elderly. They immediately formed a circle with Dong Xiaowan in their center, their eyes fixed on Lin Tianyu. With a vicious smile, Lin Tianyu said, it's no use. The 5 of you won't even see my shadow. A series of booms were heard and Dong Xiaowan cried out once again. Her 2nd article was removed, even under heavy guard. Dong Tianba couldn't accept this outcome. They were both in bone tempering stage, yet there was such a gap between them. Ah, what a soothing perfume. Lin Tianyu sniffed hard at the clothing in his hand and was intoxicated by the fragrance. If the 2nd clothing is so refreshing, I'm eager to know how Miss Underwear is like. Dong Xiaowan let out a shiver and cried in fear, brother. I will definitely protect you. Dong Tianba mustered his courage with a roar and set his eyes on Lin Tianyu's every move. Although he wished to marry her off to the useless Songyu, it was because he knew the later wasn't evil. However, anyone who dared to harm his sister would earn his wrath. Are you done? Hurry it up. Seeing Lin Tianyu showing his true colors, Xiao Dandan spat with revulsion. Lin Tianyu nodded while tucking the clothing in his chest and vanished. The next moment, his hand was holding another piece of clothing. And with it, Dong Xiaowan was shamed even further. Plop! Dong Tianba fell to his knees, powerless and helpless. He is so fast that I can't even see him. Wanner, forgive me, your brother is unable to protect you. Dong Tianba sobbed. Dong Xiaowan watched him in sorrow and closed her eyes, resigned to her fate. The four elders were also aggrieved. In this game of cat and mouse, they were left without any dignity. It would have been better to die than suffer like this. Then, sudden footsteps were heard and a figure overshadowed Dong Tianba. He looked up, only to find Zhuo Fan looking at him. Bro Dong, how about you leave the last try to me? Who are you? Xiao Dandan cut Dong Tianba off before he could speak. Scratching his nose, Zhuo Fan pointed at Dong Xiaowan, ha ha ha, I'm her husband. What? Seeing the widespread shock, Zhuo Fan rushed to explain, no, she is my wife. What's the difference? The crowd exclaimed. Scratching his head, Zhuo Fan mused a bit and explained, well, I did go to her clan to propose but was refused. Does that make me an ex-husband? What ex? You were clearly kicked out. Everyone looked at him in contempt. Xiao Dandan even mocked, fine then, another bone-tempering moron won't change a thing. Plus, seeing your dearly beloved ravaged before your eyes is even more appealing. Ha ha ha, I don't mind as long as Dandan doesn't. One more would hardly matter. Lin Tianyu boasted. Standing back up, Dong Tianba looked at Zhuo Fan gravely, bro, you don't need to involve yourself in this. Ha ha ha, bro Dong, we aren't strangers, but close pals. Of course, I'll help you. This earned a nod of approval from the people. I knew you are a good man who knows loyalty. Dong Tianba was moved to tears. Zhuo Fan then gazed at Dong Xiaowan with a smile of reassurance, don't worry, he won't touch you ever again. She thought Zhuo Fan was using this chance to take advantage of her, but his clear eyes evoked unknown feelings in her heart. Zhuo Fan now turned to Lin Tianyu and stuck out his hand, come. Lin Tianyu's smile of mockery froze on his face and was soon replaced by rage. He felt Zhuo Fan was looking down on him. Chapter 93, Speed. Chapter 93, Speed. P4553R. Damn punk, what a load of gall you have. Once I'm through with her, I'll deal with you. Lin Tianyu stared down Zhuo Fan with killing intent. As a man from the seven noble houses, everywhere he went all he saw was respect and envy. So a person like Zhuo Fan, who had only contempt, had to be put down. This was an unwritten law of the Tianyu Empire. Dong Tianba sensed his killing intent and sighed at Zhuo Fan's fate. Ha ha ha, bro Dong shouldn't waste time with a clown. Aware of the change in the atmosphere, Zhuo Fan still sported a casual smile. It was spoken low enough to seem nonchalant, but loud enough to let everyone in on his words. Everyone knew who he was hinting at, but none saw it coming from a first layer of bone-tempering cultivator. Only a fool would mock the seven noble houses. The people started to pity Zhuo Fan's imminent and gruesome death. Ha ha ha, brother Tianyu, a fool just ridiculed you. Xiao Dandan felt the atmosphere was lacking, so she added oil to the fire. Lin Tianyu was now filled with hatred for Zhuo Fan. Humph, a retard's words won't affect me. I'll just swipe him away once I'm done with the girl. He then stepped forward. A fierce wind blew and vanished, but his laughter never stopped banging on the other's ears. Ha ha ha, only the last article remains and then I will get to truly appreciate this lady. Dong Xiaowan was curled up in fear, her hands tightened on her last shred of dignity. Dong Tianba and the four elders made a tight circle around her. However, Zhuo Fan stood there impassive, as if it had nothing to do with him. Suddenly, Lin Tianyu appeared before Dong Xiaowan and reached for her last article with a grin. He, I won. Think again. A snort reached his ears. He didn't even get the chance to react when a fist smashed into his pretty face. He went tumbling through the air and smacked the pavement before he could get his bearing. When he got up from the ground his cheek was already swollen. What just happened? The two were so fast that the onlookers didn't see a shadow. They only heard two loud sounds and then came Lin Tianyu kissing the ground. Zhuo Fan also appeared, his hand outstretched above Dong Xiaowan. You, got him? Dong Tianba was stunned. When not even himself and his four elders could save his sister, this kid managed to save the day. Putting aside the fact that his first layer bone tempering cultivation held more power than a seventh layer, his speed alone was inconceivable. In a casual manner, Zhuo Fan rubbed his presumably sore fist. Something just came towards my fist. Oh, it stings. His words startled everyone, and Dong Tianba even began to laugh. Ha ha ha, great. Bro, how did you do it? I couldn't even see him. Do you even need to see? Zhuo Fan rose an eyebrow and sported a vague smile. Isn't his target obvious? If you build a wall next to her, he's bound to bump into it. It was so obvious now that everyone could think of it. They were so focused on Lin Tianyu's speed mastery that they were led by the nose. But even with his impressive speed, his target was Dong Xiaowan. All they had to do was keep their eyes on her. This simple reasoning almost made them tear up. Amazing! An elder praised Zhuo Fan. Young Master Song is really a genius worthy of our young master's admiration. Ha ha ha, see little sister. Don't I always say Bro Song is a man of ethics and talent? If it wasn't for him, you'd never have escaped this predicament. Dong Tianba laughed as he lifted the weight off his heart. Dong Xiaowan blushed as she conveyed her thanks and appreciation to Zhuo Fan through her eyes. Waving it off, Zhuo Fan made eye contact with Dong Tianba. Bro Dong, can you stop? It's not up to you how it ends. Picking up on his gesture, Dong Tianba walked before Xiao Dandan with a smile. Miss, we were lucky to have stopped this youth. I'm sure a disciple from Drifting Flowers Edifice wouldn't cross her word, so let us end it here. I will be taking my sister now. With a deep bow, Dong Tianba was about to leave. Wait. Xiao Dandan eyed the crowd and gave a lopsided grin. I will forego this matter, of course, but too bad Brother Tianyu isn't too fond of that idea. Humph, in all my life, I've never been punched so hard. Lin Tianyu stared with killing intent. I am not one to pick on people, but this game has yet to entertain me enough. I would have to ask you all to keep me company throughout the end. What? While the others were lamenting inside, Dong Tianba shouted in anger, and when will the game conclude? It'll be over when I say so. Lin Tianyu sneered. This came as a terrible shock to the Dong clan. Wasn't it the same as saying it wouldn't end until they'd have no dignity left? You're too freaking petty to even take a loss. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose and tightened his fist. Seems I can return this with courtesy. He didn't want to blow this matter out of proportions any further, but this rotten couple didn't know when to stop. Ha ha ha, this barbaric game is fun. Let me join too. Zhuo Fan laughed. He attracted the eyes of everyone, and also Dong Tianba's confused look. Zhuo Fan, however, didn't care about them. I used to play such a game with Bro Dong not too long ago. I ripped his woman's clothes while he ripped my woman's. The first to finish got the woman. Right, Bro Dong? Zhuo Fan hinted. Dong Tianba quickly woke out of his stupor and nodded. But it seems this game isn't completely fair. You get to tear my woman's clothes, while I have no target. Lin Tianyu mocked. You think you are all-powerful just because you landed a lucky punch? Ha ha ha, wishful thinking. Zhuo Fan spoke flatly. Young Master Lin, are you scared, or perhaps whipped? Chuckles resounded all around, Xiao Dandan's included. Despite being fearful of the seven houses, everyone cursed them behind their backs. Lin Tianyu was livid but still deferred to Xiao Dandan by looking her way. Frowning, Xiao Dandan spoke plainly to Zhuo Fan. It seems besides Zhuo Fan, there are more and more people cropping up who slight the seven houses. But, do you have what it takes? If you can take even one article of clothing from me, I will kick Brother Tianyu out and marry you instead. Xiao Dandan's challenge first came as a shock, Then forced laughter spread as everyone came to realize the gap between the two. The 7 houses reviled those beneath them. How could they even entertain the thought of accepting a nobody into their house, as a groom no less? With an evil smile, Zhuofan blinked, "Miss Dandan, be careful of what you say, lest you'd end up crying. You're the one who's going to wail." Xiao Dandan stuck out her chin. "All right, enough talk. Get ready, I am about to start." Lin Tianyu roared over their conversation. Dong Tianba was getting into position but Zhuofan waved him off. "Ha ha ha, since I talked about fairness, only I will be defending Dong Xiaowan, lest he'd use it as an excuse to be even more shameless." "Bro!" Dong Tianba cried, but nodded in the end. "I'll leave my sister in your care." He then took his elders to the side. "Miss Dong, do you trust me?" Zhuofan stared at Dong Xiaowan. She jumped, but nodded in the end, realizing the repulsive lecher from before was replaced by a reliable young man. Zhuofan grinned, "Great, enjoy the show." But just then, a cackle came into their ears. "Ha ha ha, the last article is mine." Dong Xiaowan curled up in fear, but Zhuofan was as calm as ever. He even had a mocking smile on his face. Bam! A crack resounded and Lin Tianyu didn't even get to touch Dong Xiaowan as he was sent tumbling in the air before hitting the pavement again. He was filled with shock. "You could see me." As he turned around, Zhuofan's eyes were cold. Whoosh! With a crack of thunder, Zhuofan appeared behind Xiao Dandan. His hand flashed and her dress was torn apart. "You call that speed?" Zhuofan's mockery shocked the crowd. "This kid is an expert." Chapter 94, What Goes Around, Comes Around. Chapter 94, What Goes Around, Comes Around. How could this be? Xiao Dandan watched the drifting cloth in shock. How could she not know her future husband's strongest point? Mary Woods was known as the Wind House, known for having the fastest speed in the empire. Not to mention, Lin Tianyu chose to abandon power for even more speed. He reached such a mastery that even a peak bone tempering expert would be left in the dust. However, a low-level bone tempering brat did the unthinkable and managed to surpass him. Not only was Xiao Dandan incredulous, but so was Lin Tianyu. His face was frozen in shock as no words could leave his mouth. As for Dong Tianba's group, they were slack-jawed. Particularly young Master Dong, who knew Song Yu for ages. Never once had he displayed such outstanding features. Yet, here he was, a third-rate clan's member winning against a 7 houses disciple. Everyone became silent, with all eyes focused on the proud Zhuofan, their words stuck in their throat. Grinning evilly, Zhuofan sniffed and said with satisfaction oozing from his voice, "Miss Dandan, you truly are an amazing beauty, evident from this fragrance. I will never forget this soothing smell for as long as I live." Xiao Dandan stared at him with a red face. Lin Tianyu was turning green, his heart bleeding from hatred. "Bastard! You dare harass my wife in my presence? Do you take Mary Woods for nothing?" Taking a side glance at Lin Tianyu, Zhuofan grinned inside and flashed before Xiao Dandan. She then cried in panic when Zhuofan hugged her. She tried to resist but was a moot effort against Zhuofan's cultivation. "Damn brat, what do you think you're doing?" Lin Tianyu roared. Zhuofan watched the red-faced Xiao Dandan and raised an eyebrow in challenge. "Miss Dandan, I'm not as flimsy as that weak lord. I've always learned to take the initiative with a woman. My actions were a bit rude to you, miss. So, you can hit me or curse me, but I'll still do the same." Xiao Dandan was glaring at him, yet her heart stirred. Zhuofan's pushy attitude was worlds apart from Lin Tianyu's flattery. This feeling was so new to her that she didn't know where to place it. "Rotten brat, let go or you'll be sorry." Zhuofan was courting his woman before his eyes and even before the public. Something that Lin Tianyu could not bear any longer. But Zhuofan was far from done. He pulled her closer instead, eliciting a charming cry from Xiao Dandan. It made any male on the scene feel their pulse quickened, swallowing dryly, and sporting wide and nasty grins. Meanwhile, the women around blushed. Lin Tianyu's face was ashen, wishing to tear Zhuo Fan limb by limb. Snorting, Zhuo Fan raised a taunting eyebrow. "Brother Lin, isn't this a game of your own accords? Since time immemorial, the winner receives everything while the loser ends up with nothing. If Brother Lin wins, you'll have 2 women. If not, well." Zhuo Fan patronized, then turned to blow his hot breath in Xiao Dandan's ear. "Miss Dandan, if I win, please be so kind as to kick this man out and make me your guest." His tone was soft, yet his words traveled far, particularly stabbing into Lin Tianyu's ears. However, this wasn't what struck his core, it was Xiao Dandan's blushing and faint nod. Zhuo Fan had given another wave of shock to the crowd and many were now eyeing him with envy. "Damn rotten bastard. He snatched a drifting flowers edifice's girl right out of that flimsy Mary Wood's disciple in minutes. His skill is worthy of being a pioneer in the sacred art of chasing skirts. If I had such skill, I would also take a drifting flowers edifice girl for myself." Lin Tianyu trembled, his lips leaked a trail of blood. "Bastard, you've taken this too far. Ha ha ha, what of it? What goes around comes around. Next time, if you're lucky enough to win, then speak." Zhuo Fan's wicked grin wasn't in the least bit heroic or worthy of his conquest, but it made everyone's heart shiver. While the women were swooning, Lin Tianyu had a belly full of hatred. Zhuo Fan's incessant mockery was trumped by stealing his woman. This exceeded his bottom line long ago. "Son of a bitch. Once I peel your girl's clothes, I'll finish you off." Lin Tianyu appeared before Dong Xiaowan. She cried in fear, but Lin Tianyu's evil clutches didn't arrive. A slap cuffed him over the ear into the ground. When he looked up, Zhuo Fan was back next to Xiao Dandan, continuing to mock. "Miss Dandan, that limp noodle lost again. I'm afraid I will have to relieve you of another article." A rip was heard and an article left Xiao Dandan's body more exposed. Zhuo Fan lifted her chin. "Miss Dandan, please, don't blame my uncouth act." Her charming eyes rolled and her face turned rosy, playing coy. "Can't you be more gentle?" "Ha ha ha, I am uncouth and unmannered, this is something that won't change for as long as I live." Zhuo Fan shook his head. Lin Tianyu's eyes were bloodshot and looked as though he was about to spit fire. "Rotted bastards, both of you." Lin Tianyu went for Dong Xiaowan again with the same result. Zhuo Fan made sure to even slap him 5 times for good measure. And it resulted in Xiao Dandan's turn to loosen her clothing. Yet the lady hardly cared, making Lin Tianyu's coals of anger burn hotter. With but one flimsy and thin piece left on Miss Xiao Dandan, Zhuo Fan's grin turned maniacal. "Brother Lin, final chance. If you fail now, Miss Dandan is mine. Wretched filth, you dare mock the 7 houses?" Lin Tianyu spat, the ire in his heart having grown out of his control. Yet oddly enough, he was clear-headed enough to understand Zhuo Fan's speed overwhelmed him, so he chose another angle, using Mary Wood's name. But why would Zhuo Fan care when he even had the nerve to kill Hell Valley's elders? As a result, Lin Tianyu's words only worked to goad Zhuo Fan further, who, under Lin Tianyu's rage-filled eyes, landed a kiss on Xiao Dandan's cheek. "Ha ha ha, I'm about to be Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law, why the hell would I be afraid of your goddamned Mary Woods? Isn't that right, my lady?" Xiao Dandan was so far gone, accepting anything he was throwing at her, that she nodded without remorse. Ah! It would seem Lin Tianyu had had enough and charged at the couple. He even went as far as cursing at his revered Xiao Dandan. "Bitch, you are both a bunch of dogs. I will send you both to hell." He made a hand sign and a green gale gathered around his legs. The sharp whistling spoke of its deadly power as he kicked at them. He had foregone using his prized speed in favor of stealing victory by force. Mid-spirit ranked martial art, razor kick. Xiao Dandan cried in shock. "Lin Tianyu, the gall of you, to try to kill me right in Drifting Flowers Edifice's city. Humph, for a skank like you, I will do the world a favor by killing you both." Xiao Dandan was now afraid after noticing the killing intent in his eyes. She was only in chi condensation stage, while Zhuo Fan was in his first layer of bone tempering stage. It was not possible for him to take on such an attack. However, Zhuofan just mocked, "Brother Lin, is this your final struggle?" "Oh, how pathetic." Zhuofan's arm snaked around Xiao Dandan's waist while his other acted as a shield. Bam! The green gale lashed at Zhuofan's arm, but the sounds coming out of it was that of screeching metal. The kick didn't even scratch his arm, though his sleeve did turn to shreds, revealing an all-glorious and perfectly chiseled arm. "This can't be." Lin Tianyu seemingly crazy as he muttered, "You're a body cultivator. How can you be so fast?" With a mocking smile, Zhuofan simply replied, "Who told you that we can't also train in speed? Trading off power for such measly speed will only be done by a dumbass like you." Zhuofan's eyes evoked killing intent that turned Lin Tianyu into a shivering mess. He didn't get to react as Zhuofan kicked him on the head. Blood spurted and Lin Tianyu felt a sharp pain digging its way into him. He let out one final wail before his eyes lost their light and slumped on the ground. None of the people could believe their eyes. A simple kick finished a 7 noble houses disciple, who had a 6-layer advantage over his opponent. The fight ended not in praise of power or speed but rather mockery towards Mary Woods. "Miss Dandan, did you see that? I don't discriminate, I am as uncouth and rude to men as well. If your fiancé lives, he still won't see reason. I hope you do not blame me for this." Zhuofan acted like his crime never happened and resumed flirting with the lady. Xiao Dandan watched him enamored and blinked in joy. "You've done perfectly. With you around, why would I need that trash for? Don't you worry, you'll soon join Drifting Flowers Edifice and Mary Woods won't be able to lay a finger on you." "Ha ha ha, thank you Miss Dandan for your care, just that." Zhuofan eyed Xiao Dandan's last vestige of dignity. "According to the rules, for your fiancé to lose, I'd have to pry out the last article." With a coy and blushing face, Xiao Dandan wrapped her soft lily-white hands around his neck. "Brother, I am soon to be yours. If you want my body, you'll have to wait till tonight. Or do you want the people to see everything?" "Ha ha ha." Zhuofan scratched his nose after looking at her delectable body. Then, Zhuofan's eyes turned sharp and startled the flirting woman. "Humph, weren't you listening? What goes around comes around. This goes for you too." Zhuofan reached for her last piece and Xiao Dandan was filled with fear. Would she have any face left to walk into Drifting Flowers Edifice if she went naked in the middle of the city? Suddenly, a loud shout came, "Stop!" And 2 blue silk ribbons drifted over. Zhuofan's hand froze in shock, a profound heaven expert. Chapter 95, Bewitching Whispers. Chapter 95, Bewitching Whispers. P4553R. 2 blue silk ribbons shot toward Zhuofan. He thought of dodging, but he dismissed that idea. Despite not unfolding his wings, his speed was beyond the bone-tempering stage, thus allowing him to one-up Lin Tianyu. This was a shock to everyone, but not unlikely to happen. In the case where his speed was to match a profound heaven expert's, that would label him a monster. Across the vast world, he might be the sole person with such a deviant degree of body refining. It was tantamount to telling everyone who he was. "I'll have to gamble." One ribbon tightened around him and made any movement impossible. "There," he reminded himself. "I just need to showcase how strong I am but within limits." Unlike that known deviant, Zhuofan, who could kill a profound heaven expert. The other wrapped Xiao Dandan in a protective embrace. What followed next was the arrival of the owner of the ribbons. The people lowered their heads in respect, as did Dong Tianba and his sister. Zhuofan only gave her a rough glance. She was a lady in her 30s, wearing a thin veil over half her face, yet incapable of hiding her grace. And with how high her cultivation was, it garnered even more respect. While she walked with light steps, her eyes were solely focused on Xiao Dandan. She extended a dainty finger and tapped Xiao Dandan's forehead. Yuan Qi entered Xiao Dandan's body and made her shiver, while also taking away the redness in her cheeks. "What, where am I?" Xiao Dandan looked around in confusion, but when she saw Zhuofan it all came back in a flurry of images. She cried in shock and her face went beet red. How could I have done that? Silly child, you can't even tell when you were tricked? The woman in blue shook her head, then her eyes snapped to Zhuofan. Little brother, if you are intent on chasing after drifting flowers edifices girl, you can chase them using your skills. But don't you think using bewitching whispers is demeaning and vile? Zhuofan praised her in his heart, she's quite perceptive. Bewitching whispers affected a person's mind so that the user could lead his victims to do whatever he wanted. This was how Zhuofan got hold of Xiao Dandan so easily. This little trick wasn't a demonic cultivator's secret skill, but not anyone could employ it. First of all, the user's soul had to be strong, which made most of the demonic cultivators beneath Profound Heaven stage unable to use it. And because this skill had limited power, most demonic cultivators did not train to use it. Ergo, the number of people aware of bewitching whispers were few and far in between. Yet, here was one woman who knew its effect. Zhuofan grinned, "Lady, I have no intention of chasing Miss Dandan. This is only for the sake of teaching her a lesson. Senior aunt, don't listen to this runt. He dared to humiliate me and looks down on Drifting Flowers edifice." Xiao Dandan was raging as she recalled the scandal she partook in. Even tears started swelling in her eyes. However, the blue woman eyed her coldly and shouted, "Quiet, haven't you had enough of disgracing yourself?" Then turned to Zhuofan, "I would have long ago put you in your place if not for knowing you had a good reason for using that foul skill to charm a woman in Drifting Flowers City." The woman then turned her attention to Dong Xiaowan and spoke in apology, "Miss Dandan was spoiled by her master. I will make sure to punish her. Please don't take it to heart." "Ah, I would never," Dong Xiaowan was startled. The lady in blue smiled as she flew, and two ribbons took Xiao Dandan and the unconscious Lin Tianyu. But Xiao Dandan didn't forget to glare at Zhuofan with loathing. Zhuofan, though, did not care, he was thinking of the blue lady's last brief look she gave him. Thanks to Zhuofan's strong soul, he managed to sense it. Was I just found out? Zhuofan frowned as he watched her leave. "Brother." Dong Tianba came with the rest to Zhuofan to express his gratitude, "Thank you so much. If it weren't for you, the Dong clan's name would have been sullied. Damn it, none of the 7 houses domain is safe to linger for long." "Big brother Song, thank you." Dong Xiaowan tightened the thin clothing on her body and spoke shyly. Not paying attention to any of this, Zhuofan spoke with a frown, "Bro Dong, who was she?" Dong Tianba's tone was grave, "Drifting Flowers Edifice's first overseer, the Iris Edifice's Qin Kai Qing." "Che, such luck that the one we met was the Iris Overseer. She is honorable and kind. She is known to never pick on clans and other disciples. But if it were Peony Overseer, with her fickle personality, she would have released her wrath on us. I see, with her cultivation, it is no wonder she is an overseer." Zhuofan took a deep breath and ripped the ribbon to shreds. "Bro, how are you so strong?" "That was Iris Overseer's ribbon imbued with her Yuan Qi. How did you break out of it?" Dong Tianba watched Zhuofan as though he was viewing a monster. "I feel like I don't know you anymore." Laughing, Zhuofan waved it off and took out a small bottle. "The Song clan is third-rate, but we have our ways. Look, this is our body tempering pill. It's all thanks to this that my body is so strong." As if. Body tempering pill is only a 4th-grade pill. It's not outstanding enough to make you stronger than a 7th-layer bone tempering cultivator and break out of a Profound Heaven expert's restriction. Dong Tianba's expression remained impassive. Zhuofan smiled, "It wouldn't be a secret method of the Song clan if anyone could refine it. You think I'd join the 100-pill meeting if it weren't for this?" Dong Tianba was starting to believe him after hearing Zhuofan continue to praise the pill. But what they didn't know was that these were only lies made up by Zhuofan. Meanwhile, Zhuofan was feeling vexed. He could not understand why Qin Kai Qing did not expose him if she knew who he was. Did she go to call for help thinking she could not defeat him? If that is the case, then staying here would be all the more dangerous. She could be asking for backup. Zhuofan said frantically, Bro Dong, I have some urgent matters to take care of. Let's talk at a later date." Sigh, I haven't given my proper thanks, how can, but before he could finish, Zhuofan was already meters away waving his hand as he left. Dong Tianba was startled but sighed in the end, Bro Song truly is husband material. Wanner, you must be regretting your refusal by now. Brother. Dong Xiaowan rolled her eyes, but still peeked at Zhuofan with clear and emotion-filled eyes. Meanwhile, at the Drifting Flowers edifice, in the guest hall, a charming and enticing woman in red sat in the lounge. She wore a thin veil, obscuring her most prominent features. But it couldn't hide the fire in her eyes that could stir the coldest heart. She was a true vixen. On her left was a middle-aged man, with even whiter hands than hers. He was stroking his goatee, but his eyes rested on her every curve. The woman in red rolled her eyes and smiled, Elder Lin, do I have something on me? Cough, Peony Overseer must be joking. The old man faked his cough and showed an embarrassed smile. I can't help but wonder, why isn't the exalted edifice lord present and it is the Peony Overseer who is welcoming me instead? He, is Elder Lin not satisfied with me? The lady fluttered her eyes at him. Her gesture almost stole the elder's soul away, finding it difficult to reply, Peony Overseer is very considerate and kind, and, ha ha ha. Humph, I came here to join the 100-pill meeting, not to see you two flirt. An angry snort came from Peony Overseer's right, a red-haired elderly, since the meeting hasn't started, I'll be leaving. I have important things to take care of. Hell Valley's fifth elder, why are you so vexed? Peony Overseer smiled, the meeting will commence upon the edifice lord's order. The great houses have yet to gather, so it is only natural for it to take a while longer. Peony Overseer, don't listen to this old goat grumble. These days, Hell Valley was sacked of its 3 elders by a mere brat. They lost all credibility, so how could they have the patience to participate in the 100-pill meeting? Right now, 5th elder must be thinking of new and ingenious ways to skin that punk alive. Or maybe the anxiety of having his poor little elderly life in danger got him wound so tight he has been jumping in his sleep. It must be torture, ha ha ha. Lin Ziqian, screw off. I wonder how many elders Mary Woods would lose if they met that brat. 5th elder slapped the table and glared at the middle-aged man. Lin Ziqian also stood up and returned a glare without fear. Wanna fight? Their power was on full display and sparks could fly at any second. But laughter interrupted their staring contest. Ha ha ha, how rowdy. If you guys want to fight it off, count me in. Chapter 96, Vicious Pill King. Chapter 96, Vicious Pill King. P4553R. Those words were made by a man in a green robe entering the guest hall. His hair was green, his eyes were green, and even his beard was green, painting a particularly strange image. He had a violet gourd strapped to his waist. His appearance caused Elder Lin and the 5th elder to show respect. Master, you are amazing beyond words. Not even Hell Valley and Mary Woods dare utter a sound in your presence, ha ha ha. A youth in his 20s came following behind the elder, he was at peak bone tempering stage. Yet, his tone lacked the respect and manner one should have when talking to the 3 other people present there. The trio's faces turned ashen, their anger was slowly rising, but they held their tongue. This scene would shock anyone. 3 profound heaven experts were mocked by a bone-tempering pup. And they didn't even retort, despite the rude tone. 5th elder, who was known for his quick temper, was also silent. A scene that even his disciples would find it hard to imagine. Elder Yen, you should mind your disciple, he doesn't seem to have any manners. Is this how a junior speaks to his elders? 5th elder said unhappily. Yet, the elder in green caressed his beard with a smile. Hell Valley's 5th elder, why argue with a child? It doesn't befit your status, ha ha ha. Exactly, you're totally not acting as a senior should. So, why should I treat you like one? The youth's brash voice was tinted with mockery. 5th elder shivered and his face turned red, itching to pry this fool's head from his body. But he forced his anger down and resumed to clenching his fists. With a crack, a piece of the table was vaporized. Lin Ziqian eyed the fifth elder's anger and secretly sighed. He had some reservations when looking at the elder in green as he forced a laughter. Ha ha ha, I'd never guessed such a small meeting will bring together 4 of the 7 houses. With Elder Yan attending, the meeting will run smoothly. He, Lin Ziqian, you don't need to give me lip service. I know none of you see me eye to eye. But who told you to name it as the 100-pill meeting? You think it's worthy of the name 100 pill if I, Vicious Pill King, is missing in attendance? The elder in green didn't give Lin Ziqian any respect and even mocked him to the point Lin Ziqian turned his head away. Peony Overseer was livid, but on top of her anger lied a deep seething hatred. Elder Yen Song, Peony Overseer spat, Drifting Flowers Edifice doesn't seem to have extended Pill King Hall an invitation. So why have you graced us with your uninvited presence? Ha ha ha, Peony Overseer, you're as fiery as ever. With his eyes flashing green, Yen Song snorted, in the Tianyu Empire, I can go wherever I want with no one daring to oppose me. Now that I'm here in your Drifting Flowers City, are you going to kick me out? You! She was poised to attack, but Lin Ziqian stopped her. Peony Overseer, calm yourself. Eyeing Yen Song cautiously, Lin Ziqian sighed as he gave her a look. Before Edifice Lord comes, be careful of devolving the situation. Peony Overseer snorted, turning her body away, easing Lin Ziqian's worry. Ha ha ha, Peony Overseer is like a lass, so spiteful. So, it is a wonder to me how you still became an overseer? Master, you were right. A bunch of broads can never accomplish anything. Drifting Flowers Edifice is the worst of the 7 houses by far. The youth ridiculed. The eyes of the 3 turned sharply. Vicious Pill King is too arrogant and his disciple belittles anyone he sees. Their friendly conversation was interrupted when a sound came from outside the door. Little brother, Drifting Flowers Edifice may have only women but it has stood strong in Tianyu Empire for a millennia. It has its own principles, it is not something anyone can criticize. A beauty in blue floated in, the Iris Overseer, Qin Kai-Ching. Senior sister, you're back. Peony Overseer cried, regaining her confidence, where did you go? We have someone barging uninvited and I am powerless to stop them. Peony Overseer's eyes snapped to Yen Song but Qin Kai-Ching simply smiled, shouldn't you be taking care of your precious disciple instead? I once told you to raise your disciple better, not to disgrace Drifting Flowers Edifice's reputation. Who did she offend? Shaking her head, Qin Kai-Ching simply clapped. 2 female disciples brought Xiao Dandan who was still wrapped in the blue ribbon. With her curves full on display, she earned the youth's fiery gaze. Then 2 more disciples brought an unconscious Lin Tianyu. Tianyu! Lin Ziqian jumped next to him, then his look was filled with murderous desire. Who hurt him? The youth cut her off before she could reply. Master, is that kid's injury grave? He, that's putting it mildly. If not dead then a cripple. The culprit sure had no restraint. Yen Song enjoyed others' misfortune. The youth laughed in ridicule, Mary Wood's disciple can't even take a hit. And his master is no different either. Lin Ziqian gnashed his teeth, glaring at the youth. Qin Kai-Ching smiled, little brother is wrong. The one he met was an even younger man, whose strength is above all the 7 houses' genius disciples. Little brother is Elder Yan's disciple, but even you will meet the same fate. The youth frowned, filled with rebuke. Qin Kai-Ching secretly smiled. Senior sister, why didn't you bring him? Is he stronger than you? Peony Overseer jerked. Shaking her head, Qin Kai-Ching said, perhaps not, but you know how I am, staying outside others' affairs. If someone messed with my disciple, I'll intervene, but... Qin Kai-Ching sighed as she looked at Xiao Dandan. Dandan, you explain. And be honest. I already know everything that transpired. Yes, senior aunt. Xiao Dandan sobbed a nod, then retold the events. The people there sighed at the conclusion. Not for the humiliated Dong clan though, since none of the 7 houses gave a damn about these people. They were considered slaves in their eyes. And their disciples were of the same mind. Some might be even more ruthless than Xiao Dandan. It was only thanks to the drifting flowers edifice's restrictions on their disciples that made them far more restrained. What was on everyone's mind was Zhuo Fan's conduct. Not only did he end the humiliation the Dong clan received but turned the humiliation back at Xiao Dandan and her fiancé. With such a savage method, Fifth Elder couldn't help associating him with a familiar figure. Didn't his actions resemble that of Zhuo Fan who killed the Seventh Elder? He stroked his beard as he stated, "Ha ha ha, what is wrong with the Tianyu Empire? With Zhuo Fan as the origin, many more are starting to belittle the Seven Houses, assaulting our disciples again and again. If we don't keep them in check, none will fear us. He, isn't it all because of Hell Valley's incompetence? You have yet to find that insolent brat too. You're making us, the other 6 houses, look bad." Yen Song mocked. Fifth Elder wasn't angry as he turned to the youth behind him with a smile. "Yeah, it's all our fault. But for an elder to step into a disciple's conflict, isn't it more shameful? Lin Zitian, too bad you didn't bring another disciple to take revenge for Tianyu and save that Dandan girl's reputation." The youth jumped in front of Xiao Dandan before Lin Zitian could reply, and took her arm. "Come with me, I will avenge you." And with that short declaration, the two were gone, causing the Fifth Elder to show a broad smile. "Insolent! That brat has no manners at all. He even ignored my presence and took my disciple away." Peony Overseer's lip trembled in rage. Yen Song waved his hand as he walked off. "Ha ha ha, in this world, a woman's fate is to land in a man's arms. Drifting Flowers edifice wouldn't have lasted so long without this." When Yen Song was gone, the Fifth Elder's eyes squinted as he too took the initiative to leave. That old fool must have also sensed it. Peony Overseer was confused. Why is everyone leaving? Lin Zitian frowned, eyeing Qin Kai-ching with a profound gaze. "Iris Overseer, are you certain that Troublemaker isn't that demon Zhuo Fan?" "What? He's Zhuo Fan?" Peony Overseer jerked. Qin Kai-ching's eyes showed a peculiar light. "I am unclear. The kid is outstanding, but not enough to kill Profound Heaven experts. Maybe he is faking it." Lin Zitian then laughed. "I see now why even Vicious Pill King is impatient to watch the fight. If he really is Zhuo Fan, his disciple is as good as dead. At that time, Yen Song will make a move." However, his lips traced a cryptic curve. Qin Kai-ching finished. "It is unclear if Zhuo Fan can kill a man viler than even Yugiki. After all, he is called the Vicious Pill King for a reason." Lin Zitian nodded with a mutter. "I just hope he is Zhuo Fan." Chapter 97, Scourge Woman. Chapter 97, Scourge Woman. Under the faint rays of dusk, Zhuo Fan was venturing alone through the city. He seemed to be at ease, but his mind was hard at work. He was spreading his soul to his surroundings for detection purposes. Yet, after such a long time, no expert appeared in sight. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe my cover isn't blown. Zhuo Fan whispered. As he strolled around, he ended up around a street with run-down buildings. This place housed people like Zhuo Fan, those from third-rate clans. "Hey, this is my area, take your things out of here." "Cut the crap, I came first." "What's yours?" "Get lost." "Kid, you dare talk back to this young master? Do you know who I am?" "Humph, why would anyone care? If you think you're so great, then how did you end up here?" These events played out everywhere, the third-rate clans claiming a new dwelling as theirs. This was a place where the weak were despised. Yet, ironically, even these weaklings, who were discarded in this dump, fought among each other. Humph, what a pathetic bunch. This is why third-rate clans can't amount to anything and deserves to be in the slums. Zhuo Fan spoke in a harsh voice, no longer paying them any heed. He walked further in and found the shabby buildings on both sides have already been taken. Everyone eyed him with open hostility, afraid he'd want to fight them over their lodgings. This seemed like a common occurrence here. Zhuo Fan scoffed, his every action was only to further his own goals. fighting over a house disgraceful to him. Unfortunately, he found no place vacant as he wandered around. Do I need to fight for a bed? It is much better to take the sky as my roof. Zhuo Fan suddenly halted. His eyes watched the house before him with skepticism, then he looked at the people around oddly. At the end of this row of shabby houses, there was one building that looked to be in better shape, yet no one lived in it. With how rowdy the crowd was before, now, there was no sign of anyone around. Frowning, he turned to the people fighting in doubt. Why are you foolishly fighting? Can't you see that empty house? Humph, you're the fool. If you want to die, go right ahead. Someone was quick to snap in derision. Zhuo Fan was baffled. But one man was kind enough to advise, brother, you can stay at my house if you'd like. I will make room for you, but you mustn't step foot in that one. Why? Sighing, the man explained, you are new here so you don't know. The owner is a scourge woman, her body riddled with disease. Many have disregarded this warning and chose to live there. Even though they stayed far away from her, in the back of the house, they all died 3 days later. Yeah, not even beggars would stay there. And because of lack of space in the Drifting Flowers city as the 100-pill meeting approaches, we were sent to this dump. Goddammit, isn't Drifting Flowers edifice the ruler here? Why don't they just take out this scourged woman once and for all? Zhuo Fan snorted inside. If that woman was disease-ridden, he had to see it firsthand for himself. You all are standing outside yapping on and on. None of you dare to take action and still want to send someone else in to kill her. It was obvious who were the true scourges. Ignoring the senseless chatter, Zhuo Fan was walking straight to it under everyone's gaze. Brother, do you have a death wish? My life is boundless. Zhuo Fan waved him off. Whether plagued or poisoned, while other people heated in anxiety, he was worryless. Demon transformation art could absorb anything in this world, even this disease. The closer he got to this plagued district, the colder it became. This made Zhuo Fan frown. He found no plague here, but abnormal changes that could only come about from an array. Who's there? Zhuo Fan followed the shout to see a girl before a broken-down house in rough linen staring at him. The girl may be dressed in coarse linen, hiding her form and face, but her pure eyes caught Zhuo Fan off guard. He swore he never saw such mesmerizing eyes in his life. What beautiful eyes! Zhuo Fan admired. The girl's cheeks turned a tint rosier. Her eyes lowered a bit but still had the same coldness. Who are you? Who told you you can come in? I am Nitrain City's Songyu, arriving here for the 100-pill meeting. Because of my third-rate clan status, I can only stay here. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands, smiling like a gentleman. The girl frowned, her tone harsh. Then stay in another house. Aren't you afraid of death by coming here? I believe death is unimportant. I saw how selfish and despicable the people here are acting and couldn't recognize such men as my neighbors. I would rather choose death in this peaceful place. Stop lying, think I'd believe your sophistry? She huffed. Helpless, Zhuo Fan made a heartbroken face. Lady, I'll be honest. All the people before are stronger than me and I can't beat them. If you throw me out, I will die at their hands. To such a sound argument, the lady nodded, believing it somewhat. But Zhuo Fan switched tones way too fast, which caught her off guard and caused her to be suspicious. Her tone grew colder as she asked, You're afraid of being beaten to death, but not afraid of me? Do you know who I am? I do, of course I do. Zhuo Fan bobbed his head. I heard them say there is a scourge woman here, that must mean you. But I would rather get disease than die beaten. As they say, a flower should be allowed to roam free. Quiet, don't try to play smart with me. The lady snapped, her eyes darting around in thought. She pointed her white finger to a broken house. Sleep there, but you are to never wander outside at night, or you will die. Yes, lady, I promise. Zhuo Fan nodded and when he looked up, she was gone. He narrowed his eyes and his revering gaze now turned to one of coldness. I couldn't see through her cultivation. Did she reach the radiant stage? Or maybe she's a common person. But how can a common person hold such a tone before a bone-tempering expert? Humph, how amusing. Juofan's mouth perked up into a grin and entered his house. You must be up to something since you forbid me from going out at night. Then I will do just that and find out what you're hiding. Juofan went to meditate. Time trickled by and the night cast a cloak of darkness over the slums. A sudden ripple came from the slums, followed by a sharp decrease in temperature. Juofan shivered and muttered, I was right, it is an array. His hand flashed and revealed a small bottle. It contained the same pill he used in Allbeast Mountain Range, an energy-concealing pill. Whoosh! Juofan flicked it into the air and a flash of red came from his body and swallowed it. The ethereal blood infant made Juofan give off a wicked smile. Not even a radiant stage could find it now that it ate that pill. Go! Blood infant went through the walls and flew deeper into the slums, reaching the furthest area. That place was in ruins, ruins that formed an odd array. The lady sat upright in its center, deep in meditation. The bright moonlight, with its extreme coldness, entered inside the array then her body, while the rest chilled the slums. With each ray of power from the moonlight she absorbed, her body grew a sheen layer of ice. Then, a green flash from her forehead pierced through the ice and slowly faded away. Each time that happened, the lady's eyelids trembled, as if in great pain. Third grade array, a moon array. Juofan sighed and withdrew the blood infant. He now understood why the previous people died. He thought it was because of the Scourge woman's vile conduct or her disease. But after he saw it, he knew that it was neither of those. She was only treating herself. The ignorant people approached her and the moonlight's energy ravaged through their meridians and that damage eventually killed them. Moon array allowed one to absorb the moon's and cultivate, but spending too much time in it would throw one's inner balance out of whack. Yet, this Scourge woman had no intention of cultivating, she was just using the moon's to suppress the poison inside her. Unfortunately, this was not without side effects. As gathered inside, her meridians would start to deteriorate and one day, she would become a cripple. The more she tried to contain the poison, the more violent it would be when she couldn't hold it in check any longer. It could even take her life. Such a scene caused even the great demon cultivator, Juofan, to feel pity for the lady. Just what poison was so deadly that needed such an extreme method to suppress it? Chapter 98, Playing the Fool. Chapter 98, Playing the Fool. At the first ray of dawn, the moon hid back behind the forest while the sun was rising to take its rightful place in the sky. In its shine, the ice on the Scourge woman thawed. The lady opened her eyes and sighed with exhaustion. Lady! A cry of shock came from Juofan, holding fruits to his bosom as he staggered towards her. The Scourge woman jumped to her feet and waved the leaves to cover the array. Then she snapped a glare towards Juofan. Didn't I tell you not to wander about? What are you doing here? Lady. You didn't say anything about going out during the day. Juofan acted oblivious to the array beneath him, pointing naively at the sky. The Scourge woman was stunned, then blushed. She rebuked, if you are to stay in this place, you must remain in your quarters, even through the day. Or I'll kick you out. Juofan shuddered from the heavy injustice that befell him. He hanged his head and walked away with remorse. But then he turned to leave the fruits before the woman. Lady, I find your complexion to be slightly pale, so I picked these this morning, please take them. And thank you for letting me stay. Juofan sighed and trod away. He made himself out to seem as though he was a particularly bleak figure, filled with loneliness who had suffered a dash of injustice. The woman turned from him to the fruits and her heart softened, picking one up. Juofan's back was towards her but his soul gave him full knowledge of her every move. He let out a devious grin. So long she picked just one fruit, it proved he had made a breakthrough to her heart. Next, he needed to stick to her for as long as possible to find out the poison that had cursed her. There's a fine line between godly medicine and abominable poison. As the 100-pill meeting hadn't begun yet, he had no clue where to search for rare ingredients. Since he had the time, who knew if he might get something from sticking close to this scourge woman? Women are the best swindler and, ironically enough, the easiest targets. Zhuo Fan snickered inside as he slumped away from her sight. Noon. The scourge woman was doing her usual routine, sitting upright on a rock, absorbing the sunshine one breath at a time. A sudden hubbub pierced her ears, disturbing her inner peace. With fire in her eyes, she marched to the source. She watched a throng of people raving, "Kill him, beat that lousy punk to death." She approached doubtfully and witnessed Zhuo Fan wrestling with a stocky third-layer bone-tempering expert. She shook her head ready to leave, but Zhuo Fan yelled at the top of his lungs, "I won't let you insult her. She is a good person. Screw you. That scourge woman killed numerous people already and you still dare to take her side?" The stocky man he was fighting against punctuated his reproval with a slap. But Zhuo Fan was stubborn as a mule. He was mocked, roughed up, shamed, yet his eyes never lost their will to fight. "Humph, she's been living here long since you came barging in. Before then, some people die to God knows what, and you people start slander the lady. Can you even call yourself a man? Hey, this kid is asking for it. Finish him off. Yeah, letting him live will invite disaster upon us. He is just like that scourge woman, wanting to kill us all. But before he kills us, we'll just have to take him out. Kill, kill," the crowd began chanting like madmen. The scourge woman saw this unfold with a shiver as anger started to well up in her eyes. "Stop!" A crisp shout rang in their ears, even over the thunderous roars of the mob. They turned in shock then shivered in fear, staggering away. "It's the scourge woman. Watch out everyone. Or she'll infect you if she gets too close." In an instant, the people around started to run off. Even that bone-tempering expert dismounted Zhuo Fan's prone figure and fled in fear. The scourge woman walked straight to Zhuo Fan and helped him stand. She only eyed the crowd around them then brought him back to the plagued house. The mob sighed in relief and wiped their sweat as they watched them go. "Split the money." A sudden shout echoed. The people gathered around again and at the center was a pile of glittering spirit stones. The dazzling show of light struck the core of everyone. Damn, this must be more than 10,000. Wasn't that kid from a third-rate clan? How did he get so rich? Hey, stop poking your nose in others' business. Who cares if he wants you to beat him up as long as you get paid? This must be around 50,000 spirit stones. That young master said each can take 1,000, not a stone more. I got it. That fellow wants that scourge woman so he wanted us to make a play. He is playing with fire. Who in the hell would go after a woman plagued with disease? Bam! But his words were welcomed with a flurry of blows. The man turned in shock at the angry stocky man. He told you to not speak of this once you get your cut. If just one of you has loose tongues, all of us will end up dead. What's so scary about a rich kid? Even if he might be from a second-rate clan. The first guy was still trying to justify himself but the stocky man's slap left him traveling through the air. "Bastard, I told you to shut up. You can't even begin to imagine what that young lord will do to us if this gets found out." The stocky man's inflamed fists trembled with fear, recalling the scene of a man turning to ashes before him. Zhuo Fan let only him witness the almighty power of fear. The others were oblivious to his devious and poisonous acts. Nonetheless, since this stocky man was the strongest among them, if he was scared, he would share the fear and keep his words in mind. In a flash, they clamped their mouths and left after taking their share of spirit stones. On the other side, the scourge woman took Zhuo Fan to the broken-down house. A small bottle appeared in her hand after seeing his bruised-up and bleeding body. She ordered in a rather cold voice, "Eat it." Zhuo Fan knew it was a healing pill, but he turned his head away. How could those useless bone-tempering men even dent his perfect fifth-grade demonic treasure body? His wounds were self-inflicted to stir pity in the scourge woman's heart. And if he just ate the pill, the woman would just take off. So he put up a tough front, like a spoiled brat. The woman, however, was perplexed. What? Scared there's poison? I am not afraid of staying with you. Do you think I'm afraid of you poisoning a pill? Zhuo Fan huffed. Didn't you tell me to get lost? Why did you save me then? The scourge woman eyed him deeply. Then, why did you still try to defend me before those people? Weren't you afraid of being beaten to death? If I had arrived just 1 second later, you'd have died. Zhuo Fan laughed inside. He knew that after a full night spent on absorbing the moon's yin, the following day would be used on absorbing the sun's yang to warm her meridians. If not, even the strongest of experts could not withstand the corrosive yin energy raining havoc through their body. When he did his rounds around the area, he knew the spot she picked for absorbing yang. It was all a matter of staging a good show with his fellow neighbors. Not even mild-tempered people could keep away from the ruckus once their meditation was interrupted. In layman's terms, it all went according to Zhuo Fan's foolproof plan to breach the scourge woman's psychological barriers and accept him with all her heart. Zhuo Fan turned his head and stared right in her eyes until her own eyes faltered away. He spoke with emotion. My mother said, eyes are a window to one's soul. There's no way a person with such beautiful eyes possess an evil heart. And, you also let me stay, you definitely have a good heart. If those people slander you for murder, how could I stand by and not defend your name? Zhuo Fan's open bootlicking was filled with childish naivety, lacking the feeling of deception an adult would have. If a lady heard it, she wouldn't loathe this childish behavior, on the contrary, they would like it even more. That's the secret to capturing a woman's heart, not using flowery and sweet words, but to stir her motherly side. This epiphany came to him after talking with Dong Tianba. He used to feel Dong Tianba and Song Yu were simply mighty silk pants. Though their chasing skills were vile and repulsive, it still achieved results. Therefore, he was using the same methods. It's true, the world is filled with wondrous trades. Everyone's a master in something. The effect was obvious, the scourge woman's cheeks tinted red and snapped, silver-tongued. But the eyes, though, now showed acceptance. Thanks, Brother Dong, thank you for teaching me the way of chasing. Zhuo Fan secretly sighed, but his face was still etched with that childlike innocence as he laughed. Sister, I know you for so long yet I haven't caught your name. How is that long? We only saw each other 3 times. Rolling her eyes, the scourge woman mumbled, You, call me Sister Chu Chu. Yes, Sister Chu Chu. Zhuo Fan put on a puppy-eyed face that made even him nauseous, but his hands were tied. Women ate them like candy. Now take the pill. Chu Chu extended the bottle, but Zhuo Fan smiled and opened his mouth. Sister Chu Chu, feed me. Sighing, Chu Chu shook her head helpless, glared, but she still extended him a pill with her dainty hand. Zhuo Fan saw her hand approaching and grabbed her wrist suddenly, pouring in his yuan qi. Chapter 99, Amazing Alchemy Skill. Chapter 99, Amazing Alchemy Skill. His yuan qi didn't travel far as a sudden chill, caused by the yin power, broke his contact, and a thin layer of ice crystals formed on his hand. Zhuo Fan was in shock. This didn't come as a result of the terrible chill, since it belonged to the yin power of the moon. What startled him so was the poison the scourge woman was housing in her body. There were 7 types of poison twisted inside, and each one of them was enough to leave a person dead as a doornail. As opposed to miraculous medicines, this was a certain death poison. With how the 7 poison were twisted among each other, even a radiant stage expert would be in endless torment before dying. He didn't know anyone so vile and malicious that would administer such poison, but one thing he did know, the poison was far too strong to be suppressed by the moon's yin power alone. And there was one more thing Zhuo Fan found inside her body fighting off the 7 poisons, a medicine, the Bodhi Jade Sap. With his eyes wide, Zhuo Fan's heart was in exultation. Bodhi Jade Sap was a miraculous medicine capable of reviving someone from an inch of death, a 7th, if not 8th grade medicine. 1 drop was enough to save a mortally wounded person. And this was what Zhuo Fan's aim all along. Now, He was apathetic to the Scourge woman's plight, only having eyes for the Bodhi Jade sap to restore the Thunder Skylark egg. All that was left was to figure out how to get it out of her. This miraculous treasure wasn't a common topic he could discuss with her, it breached one's lifeline. What are you doing? Zhuofan's act was instantaneous, and only now did she pull her dainty hand away and glared in fury. His eyes darting around, Zhuofan put on a sappy face, rubbing his hands in worry. Sister Chu Chu, your hand is so cold, let me warm you up. Don't play with me. Chu Chu stared at him filled with doubt. Say it, why did you search me with Yuan Qi? Zhuofan sighed. I noticed Sister Chu Chu's unwell complexion, and since my clan is an alchemist clan, I thought of helping you. I didn't expect Sister to doubt me. Zhuofan now sported a face filled with injustice, and even sniffed to drive the point in. It had the obvious effect, and Chu Chu's heart softened and her eyes no longer glared. My injury isn't something a third-rate clan can help with. But thank you. Who says that? Zhuofan raised his head, like an indignant child. My Song clan from Nitrain City have been alchemists for generations. My dad is a third-grade alchemist and passed his teachings on to me. If you don't believe it, come and see my skills. Zhuofan grabbed Chu Chu's soft hand and went outside. Chu Chu was so stunned she forgot to fight back. No matter what she was thinking, she didn't seem to want to cut at this big boy's enthusiasm. Zhuofan led Chu Chu through some broken-down houses, to the fright of the new locals. Of course, most of them were in fear of the Scourge woman, while only one man felt dread from Zhuofan. He was the stocky man who witnessed Zhuofan's vicious methods. The pair arrived at the tavern where Dong Tianba stayed. In his rush before, he even left the Song carriage here. It contained the ingredients the Song clan readied for the meeting. Bro! He ran right into the Dong siblings. Dong Tianba was in glee while Dong Xiaowan gave a bashful nod, big brother Song. Yet, Dong Xiaowan felt something strange as she caught his hand holding Chu Chu's wrist. Dong Tianba noticed this also and felt awkward. Bro, who is she? Sister Chu Chu, a new friend. Zhuofan smiled. At his words, Dong Tianba dragged him to the side with a raised eyebrow. Wait to go, bro. You got one just as you arrived. Ha ha ha, it's all thanks to brother Dong. Zhuofan's words came from his heart. You'd think a cultivation maniac like him would know how to get close to Chu Chu if not for yesterday's long chat with this prodigal son. Stealing a glance at Chu Chu, Dong Tianba gave a lustful grin. Bro, is she hot? I can't tell from her clothes. But she should be hiding something amazing. I'm not sure since I never saw her body. What? Dong Tianba cried out, not even her face. And you want to bet her? Zhuofan shrugged, don't be like that. I don't look at her like that anyway. Zhuofan brushed past him, letting him stand dumbstruck, his brows furrowed in deep confusion. If a man isn't after a woman for her body, then is it for love? When did my dear bro change so much? Brother Dong, where's my carriage? Dong Tianba recovered only after he heard Zhuofan's yell. He replied, in the back of the tavern. Come with me. Dong Tianba led them out back and Zhuofan went right inside the carriage, beginning to take out all the glittering and odd ingredients. He didn't look at all serious, instead, he was as pure as a child. Chu Chu found it normal, but the Dong siblings were startled. Where did the vicious and sinister Zhuofan of yesterday go? Dong Tianba then realized, it seems that love can make a man go crazy. Bro, you are caught in a love trap. Not minding the looks he got, Zhuofan met Chu Chu's eyes and spoke with a boyish smile. Sister Chu Chu, watch closely. His hand now held a scarlet Yuan Qi flame, throwing dozens of ingredients inside. Yet it was amazing how the ingredients didn't mix. What precise control! Dong Tianba exclaimed. A third-grade alchemist could, at best, handle 9 ingredients at once. But Zhuofan made light work of dozens. His skill went beyond the 4th grade, perhaps even 5th. 4th grade alchemists were seen only in second-rate clans, 5th grade in first-rate clans. As for those above, they were talents raised in the 7 houses. Dong Tianba just couldn't believe it. When he met Song Yu again in this city, he discovered that not only did his power soared, but even his alchemy ability jumped. If he had one iota of skill he shows today at the start, the clan head wouldn't have refused him. Dong Xiaowan was watching him with an even more amazed expression. Chu Chu nodded faintly, her eyes evoking praise. His skill at his age made Zhuo Fan a diamond in the rough. But Zhuo Fan wasn't going for just praise, he wanted shock. Only shock was enough to assure Chu Chu of his alchemy ability and let him have the Bodhi Jade sap. Then, he. Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed and gripped the scarlet flame containing the ingredients, putting it out. Only a weak trail of smoke was left behind. What are you doing? Dong Tianba cried, I thought this guy improved, but why does he suddenly lack common sense? If you forge all the ingredients together and put out the flame, you'll ruin them. Chu Chu shook her head with a light smile. He is still a child. How can you refine with an unsteady heart? Then, among the pitying gazes, Zhuo Fan smirked mysteriously, as an alchemist, how can I not know when my pill is ruined? I don't need you to remind me. With a smug smile, Zhuo Fan opened his hand. A piercing red light flashed and left behind a round red and glossy pill. How is this possible? Dong Tianba was beyond shocked, not daring to even believe this was real. It went against all alchemical common sense. From the gloss and the fragrance, it denoted it as a second-grade pill, but of top quality. It had a far greater value than any pill of the same grade. An apt description would be, a pill that jumped grades. Chu Chu narrowed her eyes in shock. This was her first time witnessing such a skill. Zhuo Fan snickered inside. This refining method was called Universe Palm, taken from the 9 Serenities secret records. It preserved the ingredients' effects and even boosted the pill to top quality. It was no wonder those in the mortal domain were oblivious to it, since not even the sacred domain was aware of its existence. How could mortals even begin to understand the secret methods of the ancients? It was all for the sake of getting that Bodhi Jade sap, or Zhuo Fan wouldn't have revealed such a technique. To common folk, this secret art meant nothing, but to alchemists, they would rave over it. He'd be inviting disaster if they knew of it. But these potential issues were for him to deal with in the future. All that mattered now was gaining Chu Chu's trust. Zhuo Fan grinned as he brought the glossy red pill before Chu Chu. Sister Chu Chu, I felt your hand freezing, so this yang pill is for you. Chu Chu raised her eyebrow, but mocked instead, I appreciate your kindness, but yang pill is a second-grade pill. It has no effect on me. How can you be certain if you haven't tried it yet? Zhuo Fan's cryptic smile left Chu Chu in doubt, but she also knew this pill wasn't ordinary thanks to the special method he employed in refining it. She chose to take it after some muttering. Chu Chu suddenly felt her body shivering, her eyes filled with shock. She had an expression that no one could decipher. Chapter 100, Rainbow Cloud Palm. Chapter 100, Rainbow Cloud Palm. How is this possible? Chu Chu exclaimed. That pill was unlike any she had taken. It dissolved in an instant into a miniature sun and caused her to let out a scorching breath. The strong pill effect traveled to every corner of her body, warming it up. When the effect faded, a comfortable feeling still lingered while also dispelling most of the yin power damaging her meridians she absorbed last night. Chu Chu was incredulous such an astonishing pill existed in this world. Her yuan qi was of yin attribute, and normal yang attribute pills would be rendered useless. As such, a mere second-grade yang pill should have already been offset by her body before it could help dispel the moon's yin power inside her. But Zhuo Fan's pill was burning like the sun, yet it was gentle, nurturing the recovery of her meridians. The crux of it all was that her yuan qi didn't fight against it, allowing her to capitalize on the pill's entire effect. This went beyond even her wildest dreams. A pair of sparkling eyes stared at Zhuo Fan's. Zhuo Fan was gleeful inside as he smiled, how is it, Sister Chu Chu? My pill is different from the rest. Chu Chu nodded unconsciously as she praised, you are so young yet using such an enigmatic refining skill. In a few years, the entire empire will know your name. He, it has already, though you don't know it yet. Zhuo Fan cursed and sighed, but his face still evoked the same boyish smile. Then, Sister Chu Chu, if there's anything hurting your body, I will make it sure that it stops. Chu Chu jerked. Zhuo Fan's words struck a chord in her. She knew her own body all too well and needed a great alchemist to remove the poison. However, Chu Chu muttered to herself. Zhuo Fan was always watching her, his heart stretched taut. If his mind could be heard it would be like, what's the hold-up? Hurry up and fork that damn Bodhi jade sap over. If you don't have it, then point me in the right direction at least. Then, a laugher suddenly resounded. Ha ha, took you long enough. I've been waiting here for a whole day, brat. Two figures landed from the sky. One was dressed in red, the beautiful figure of the girl Zhuo Fan humiliated yesterday, Xiao Dandan. The other was a man, a handsome youth in green and with an eerie green flicker in his eye. Dong Tianba and his sister jumped in shock. Chu Chu was also affected, staring at the two with a complicated gaze. While Zhuo Fan's expression was grave, his eyes glinting dangerously. Son of a bitch. I almost had it. Your meddling warrants death. Zhuo Fan was itching to snap these two's necks, but noticing Chu Chu, forget it, I'll keep playing the naive child. He, punk, I heard you were quite strong. Sister Chu Chu, they're picking on me. Beat them up. While the smug green youth was pointing at him, Zhuo Fan pulled on Chu Chu's clothes. He was striking an uncanny resemblance to a younger brother bullied by others and asking his boss for help. This caused a widespread shock to all that knew of yesterday's affair. The green youth's face twitched, watching Xiao Dandan in skepticism. Miss Dandan, is he the one who was hard on you yesterday? Is he the same insufferably arrogant punk? Why is it he has not one bone in his back? Xiao Dandan felt dizzy. He wasn't like this before. He was even bossy with my senior aunt. Is he bipolar? Young Master Yen, he is. But, he wasn't like this yesterday. Humph, whatever. Since he is the one, I will give him a reckoning for what happened to you. Snorting, he said to Zhuo Fan, I don't care if you're a spineless coward or a retard. Since you offended people from the 7 houses, you deserve death. With how skilled and heavy-handed you were when dealing with Lin Tianyu, you are worthy of my personal involvement. You beat Lin Tianyu? Weren't you weaker than even a third-rate clan's disciple? Zhuo Fan's eyes darted everywhere, then gave an embarrassed smile. If I say he tripped and hurt himself, would you believe me? Everyone almost lost balance and collapsed. Dude, can't you come up with a more realistic lie? Chu Chu smiled out of anger. Songyu, if you admit you lied to me from the start, I can still forgive you. But you are clearly taking me for a fool. Chu Chu brushed her sleeve and vanished, leaving only her angry voice in his ear. Humph, since you courted, you deal with it. Sister Chu Chu, let me explain. Zhuo Fan trailed but she was gone. When Zhuo Fan turned around, his eyes were cold and deadly. His previous cute and adorable look was gone, replaced with murderous desire. You bastard, couldn't you wait a minute more? You ruined my plan. Zhuo Fan's tone carried a vicious desire for revenge, making Xiao Dandan shiver as she hid behind the green youth. Even the youth held a serious expression. From being in contact with so many people from the 7 houses, it was easy to figure out a man's nature from a single glance. But Zhuo Fan's naked killing intent made his judgment moot. Such savagery only came from the kind of beast. Humph, from how tough you act, it is no wonder that you dealt a heavy blow to Lin Tianyu. The green youth mocked, too bad you met me, Pill King Hall, vicious Pill King, Yen Song's head disciple, Yen Fu. I am unlike that trash from Merry Woods who indulges in lust. I am the vicious Pill King's successor. Zhuo Fan frowned. Vicious Pill King was the title of the best alchemist in Pill King Hall. But the first in Pill King Hall wasn't like the first in any other clans. To some clans, their #1 alchemist title was gained by being the best in alchemy. But in Pill King Hall, it not only represented alchemy but also concocting poison unlike any other. From this his title, Vicious Pill King. It could be said that he was the mightiest killer and savior in the world. With life and death in his hands, he became known as a true pill king. In other words, this kid's good at poisons. Humph. Zhuo Fan mocked inside. Poison might inconvenience the rest, but to him it had no effect. See how I use my demon transformation art and wring your cultivation dry. With a crack of lightning, Zhuo Fan appeared before Yan Fu. The shock Yan Fu felt was palpable, not expecting the first layer of bone-tempering stage cultivator to employ such speed. It was no wonder that Mary Wood's disciple who despite his focus on speed lost so badly. Yet before he could react, Zhuo Fan kicked him in the stomach. Spewing blood, Yan Fu flew out, making a human-shaped hole in the wall around the tavern and bounced 50 meters in the street. Everyone was slack-jawed. To be honest, if not for Zhuo Fan's irritated state, he would have toned it down. Casting a side glance at Xiao Dandan, she was scared out of her wits. Zhuo Fan sneered, no matter who you call, they'll all end the same. Do you women from Drifting Flowers edifice can only rely on men? Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan walked away and left her crying, feeling wronged. Zhuo Fan's contempt and harsh tone cut deep into her. It was no longer humiliation, but despise. Going through the broken wall, Zhuo Fan walked towards Yan Fu, who was getting up. The tavern's customers and the bystanders hid when they saw it was a fight involving the 7 houses. Hee, quite fast, the fastest beneath profound heaven's stage I reckon. Yan Fu sneered as he wiped the blood from his mouth. Zhuo Fan snickered, well this is a first, seeing one happy to be beaten. Humph, I am happy, but of certain victory. Victory? Zhuo Fan disdained, I know Pill King Hall can make pills as well as poisons. But you think you can beat me with poisons? Ha ha ha, debased punk, you know nothing of the world. Yan Fu's eyes flashed as he laughed, my master is Vicious Pill King, revered by all. If not for his poisons, why do you think the 7 houses fear him? Yan Fu spread his arms. A mist flew from his palms that gradually changed its color, soon letting out 3 different types of light. Red, yellow, and green interweaved. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose, feeling slightly numb. Crud, this punk's poison skills are good to the point that even I have been affected. He was cursing inside, however, Zhuo Fan had a calm expression on the outside. He, have a taste of Pill King Hall's legacy profound ranked martial art, Rainbow Cloud Palm. 14 chapters a week again. This will be the last dump for a long time. We will reach/surpass manga this week. Chapter 101, Lunatic. Chapter 101, Lunatic. P4553R. With his final words, the palms gushed out a tricolored mist. In a mere blink, it rotated around him like a tornado, obscuring his form. Zhuo Fan gave a cold laugh inside. Those from Pill King Hall are focused on practicing poison and, just like Mary Wood's, who focus on speed, their bodies aren't tempered at all. Their bodies were weak. And to cover it up, he hid in the mist, at a safe distance. Too bad your trick won't work on me. His eyes flashed and Zhuo Fan charged, planning on wringing the punk's neck in one move. But he stopped soon after, as he looked at the mist. He realized something. Damn, it's a trap. He came here to exact revenge for Xiao Dandan, but in fact, he's been egged on to come here and probe me. If not, Drifting Flowers Edifice's men would have come to settle their disciples' matter. Why would they let this kid steal the limelight? Zhuo Fan breathed in and his eyes returned to the usually calm and calculative look. Iris Overseer is unclear on who I am and tricked this kid into testing me. I can assume there are a few profound heaven experts already watching. Humph, not a bad plan. Zhuo Fan laughed coldly inside as he withdrew, no longer having the desire to kill in his eyes. Under these circumstances, he must not win no matter what. Ha ha ha, punk, weren't you cocky of your speed? Come on then. Yen Fu's egotistical voice came from inside the mist. Zhua Fan tapped his chin with a faint smile. Ha ha ha, think I'm stupid? You come out if you dare. I don't believe you'll stay there for a lifetime. When you're out of Yuan Qi, I will put you in your place. Humph, you're sadly mistaken if you think the rainbow cloud palm is only used for defense. I will let you experience the perfect martial art. Whoosh! 3 tendrils of mist moved from the tornado, like hands, going after Zhua Fan, their speed no less than his. Zhua Fan ducked and dodged through the gaps in the attacks. But the tendrils suddenly turned and came from his back. Ha ha ha, now you see, punk. Pill King Hall's rainbow cloud palm isn't just for defense. No matter what you do, you will still die. Yen Fu was cackling smugly while Zhua Fan was dodging with contempt. Poison users were strong and weak at the same time. Before the poison was dispelled, the user would be invincible. But after, he was the weakest person ever. He'd be even weaker than a cultivator at the same stage. Among the 10 ancient emperors, not one relied on poison as their main path. The Pill King Hall was so stuck up because of this technique because there hadn't been anyone who could counter it. Humph, once I deal with your palm technique, the Pill King Hall will be kicked out of the 7 houses. See how you'll cry then. As for now, humph. I'll endure. Zhua Fan gnashed his teeth. But his silence only worked to bolster Yen Fu's haughty attitude, thinking he was scared. Punk, don't think you can mess with 7 noble houses just because you're a bit stronger than average. You might not care about the rest of them, but, let me tell you, when provoking Pill King Hall, all that you'll receive is death. The hell, when did I go and do that? Didn't you pick on me on purpose? Gasping, Zhua Fan clenched his fists. This punk is too damn patronizing. I might fake defeat, but not before I let him have a small taste. At this thought, Zhua Fan stopped his running, as if tired. Yen Fu was thrilled, sending the red, yellow, and green tendrils of poisonous mist right for him. But Zhua Fan squinted and with a loud bang, he charged through the 3 tendrils of poison and into the mist like an artillery shell. Yen Fu could foresee what Zhua Fan was planning to do and became startled. He was preparing to move out of the way. But he was late to react and Zhua Fan was already before him, his hand clutching at his neck. Son of a bitch, if poison is so great. Then, you and I will die together then. Poison seeped into his body and Zhua Fan's face alternated between red, yellow and green. His mouth and nose were bleeding constantly, but he couldn't care less, kicking Yen Fu in the chest. Bones cracked with a crisp sound and Yen Fu spat blood. His eyes were filled with fright. He couldn't believe there was a man who didn't fear poison and charge in with such determination. Most people would have hesitated in face of a poison mist. But who knew Zhua Fan to be the exception? His method was that of staunch determination, choosing death for both of them. Was Yen Fu about to meet his end? Lunatic, you're truly insane. Yen Fu was going hysterical watching dark blood flow freely from Zhua Fan's face. Grinning, Zhua Fan's eyes flashed with a crazed look. He, I am crazy. Since I'm going to die, I'm going to take you down first and avenge myself. Zhua Fan kicked Yen Fu's chest 3 more times, breaking all his ribs. Yen Fu was itching to cry his heart out from all the pain. But this was just the start. Before he could make a sound, Zhua Fan grabbed his skull and slapped him a dozen or so times. The sharp sounds echoed on the street as Yen Fu's teeth were flung with each slap. His eyes were wet but had no energy to even cry. The immense pain stabbed into his heart and all he could do was whimper. Xiao Dandan and the Dong siblings who came out of the tavern stared in shock. Xiao Dandan even covered her mouth, unable to believe what she saw. In reality, Yen Fu's injuries were superficial, hardly enough to kill him, while Zhua Fan had poison coursing through him and his life was seeping fast out of his body. It wouldn't be long before he'd succumb to it and die. However, from the two's interaction, it looked more like Zhua Fan was the winner and was dealing heavy killing blows, while Yen Fu was akin to a loser kowtowing for forgiveness. This can't be. Xiao Dandan watched with mixed feelings as Zhuo Fan was nearing ever closer to death yet stronger than ever. He was clearly dying, yet in his final moments, he was the strongest in the world. She never saw a man like this, not once. Her heart was suddenly seized by regret, actually hoping Zhuo Fan would live on. Yet, she was clear that once poisoned by Pill King Hall, no one could survive, the rest of the 7 houses included. This was the terror instilled by the Pill King Hall. He, didn't you say your Pill King Hall's martial arts are perfect? Didn't you want to kill me? Humph, we will both go down today, and all that's left is to see who is going to have a quicker death. Zhuo Fan yanked Yan Fu by the hair, his body trembling from the poison reaching his organs. He didn't have much time. Yet his smile was as crazed as before, slamming Yan Fu into the ground. Even if Yan Fu survived this ordeal, it would leave him with permanent scarring. Stop! A gale knocked Zhuo Fan flying as a green-robed elderly drifted to Yan Fu. He gave him a pill, checked his wounds, then sighed. His poisonous eyes then snapped to Zhuo Fan, glinting with murderous intent. 1,000 meters out, on a tall building, stood 2 figures. One was middle-aged with a split mustache, the other was a red-haired elderly. The two watched Zhuo Fan with a sigh. They say that some are so stubborn they can't see they're going to die. This kid's desperate and suicidal act is Pill King Hall's bane. If the rest of the houses did the same, would vicious Pill King dare run rampant again? Fifth Elder laughed in lament. This kid's character is something I like. Nodding, Lin Ziqian said, I know now why Tianyu lost. It would have been a miracle if he won when meeting such a lunatic, one that is so strong too. When meeting an unbeatable opponent, one must not make an enemy out of him or the result would be devastating. Most people's first thought is to run to save their lives, and by the time they react, it would be too late. This is why Pill King Hall is still held in fear. Fifth Elder nodded and flew away, leaving his words behind. It's a pity. With this man's strong body, under my guidance, his future would have been bright. With Pill King Hall's poison in him, it is ruined. Fifth Elder. Lin Ziqian shouted from behind, is he not? Zhuo Fan. Startled, Fifth Elder turned to look at him and shook his head. Zhuo Fan is as treacherous as a fox, cunning as a wolf, dangerous as a snake, and savage like a tiger. Not only does this kid not look like him, he is all brawn and no brain. Even if they both do not fear death, they are totally different. Lin Ziqian, listen well. Zhuo Fan is 100 times more dreadful. His eyes shivering, Fifth Elder vanished. Lin Ziqian was left with a hard expression. Hell Valley's Fifth Elder was the pillar of Hell Valley, the strongest. His words must be real if even he was afraid of the kid. Chapter 102, Bodhi Jade Sap. Chapter 102, Bodhi Jade Sap. Big Brother Song. Dong Xiaowan cried out as she witnessed Zhuo Fan collapsing. She wanted to go to him but Dong Tianba pulled her hand. Dong Tianba was watching the elder in green with a serious face. Zhuo Fan reduced Yan Fu to such a state and helping him would only incur the elder's wrath. It may not be righteous, but as long as you'd escape an encounter with the 7 houses alive, everything else was just details. Hey, wench, take care of my disciple. Vicious Pill King turned to Xiao Dandan, his eyes flashing green. She shivered from fear as she pointed at herself, why you mean me? Cut the crap. My disciple ended up like this for your sake. Who else should be looking after him if not you? Yen Song spoke in an irreproachable manner. Xiao Dandan was forced to obey despite her wishes. Yan Fu's mangled body stirred endless disgust in her. Who told him to stick his head out for me? Not me. He dragged me here to mess with Song Yu and now that he got hurt, I have to look after him. Picking up on her loathing, Yen Song spoke in a threatening tone, wench, my disciple got hurt for your sake and you're just going to ignore him. Shivering, Xiao Dandan shook her head again and again, no, I wouldn't dare. Humph, you'd better. My disciple took a liking to you, so you better not let him down, or I will make you beg for the sweet release of death." Snorting, Yen Song left his precious disciple in Xiao Dandan's care, then walked to Zhuofan. The latter was on the ground, seemingly having stopped breathing, but his mind was hard at work paying attention to all that was happening. Also, he wasn't as poisoned as he had let on. He just cancelled out Yen Fu's 3 poisons with the use of demon transformation art and put on this act to dupe the crowd. Feeling Yen Song's naked killing intent with every step, Zhuofan's fist tightened. "I'm already poisoned to death, and a senior like you still wants to finish the job?" If push came to shove, his only choice was to expose his real identity. Despite having a 5th-grade demonic treasure body, an all-out strike from a profound heaven expert would leave him with a heavy wound. At the very least, his inner organs would be damaged. Zhuofan was ready to react at a moment's notice and strike down the insufferable vicious Pill King. Suddenly, lighting crackled along his thunder ring, left him startled. "That guy can't be here, right?" Yet familiar laughter echoed as a person flashed 100 meters from Zhuofan. "Ha ha ha, and here I thought the magnificent and grand vicious Pill King was amazing, while instead, he delights in picking on the weak." It was none other than Sword Marquis Abode Xie Tianyang, the one who went through life and death alongside Zhuofan. Next to him was the same elder from before, 8th Elder Jian Suifeng. "Well damn, you picked the perfect timing to show up." Zhuofan was in glee, sneaking the thunder ring into another storage ring while no one was looking. The crackling of lighting vanished, but Xie Tianyang didn't care, as he continued to stare at Yen Song with arrogance. "Twerp, did you come to butt into my affairs?" Yen Song snapped his eyes to him, exploding in killing intent. Jian Suifeng rested his hand on Xie Tianyang's shoulder. "Tianyang, this doesn't concern us. 8th Elder, Drifting Flowers City isn't Pill King Hall's turf, why should we be scared of him?" Xie Tianyang grinned, sticking out his chin. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Ever since the Battle of Blue Expanse City between Yugiki and Zhuofan, Xie Tianyang had become a busybody. He just couldn't stand by and watch injustice playing before him. This quirk wasn't that bad, but it didn't do any good either. The elder didn't stop him in normal cases. But right now, he had gone too far. To dare to butt in the 7 houses' affairs, this had left the Sword Marquis Abode's elders in a panic. He could not fathom the consequences. That Zhuofan was all by his lonesome self, messing with whoever that crossed him as he wished. But Tianyang represented Sword Marquis Abode. Just what did the elders teach him? Furthermore, did he have to go against the vicious Pill King out of all of them? Jian Suifeng gave a wistful smile as he apologized in Xie Tianyang's stead. "Haha, Elder Yen Song, I am Sword Marquis Abode's 8th Elder, Jian Suifeng. Please don't mind the words of an ignorant youth. No wonder he dares act so presumptuous. He's from Sword Marquis Abode." Yen Song's eyes drifted over the two, then shook his head at the breathless Zhuofan. "Whatever, I'll let Sword Marquis Abode have this one and won't punish this punk myself. He inhaled my disciple's poison anyway and won't have long to live." Yen Song emphasized the word disciple, pointing out the fact his disciple was the one that would kill this kid. It was a message to them, "It has nothing to do with me. I'm not picking on the weak, so don't you freakin' start spreading false rumors and ruining my name, Sword Marquis Abode." Jian Suifeng was clear on his hidden meaning and nodded. "Haha, Elder Yen Song has a fine disciple. How could any common person be his match? This kid dared to mess with him, so death is what he deserves." Yen Fu nodded in satisfaction. "At least you're tactful." He then flashed before Xiao Dandan and took her and his disciple away. His disciple won, but it was a wretched win. If he lingered any more, the Sword Marquis Abode might figure out his disciple killed his opponent with poison while getting beaten like a punching bag. He'd have no face left then. There weren't many who knew this. To begin with, only Drifting Flowers Tower, Merry Woods and Hell Valley, but the fewer that did, the better. This was all to avoid making a disgrace of himself. When the old man left, Jian Suifeng took a deep breath. Though Jian Suifeng, who was filled with hatred, gnashed his teeth while looking at Zhuofan slowly dying, "Bastard, he flaunts his power at every chance and disgraces all the 7 houses. Alright already. Do you think you're that monster, Zhuo Fan? That you can do anything you want? After cuffing Xie Tianyang over the head, Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, do you have any idea how dangerous that was? Unlike you geeky who likes to play games and scheme instead of acting on impulses, vicious Pill King would strike at anything that earns his displeasure with impunity, even against the other houses. No one can do anything to stop him. Xie Tianyang bit his lip and sighed powerlessly. You must be the Sword Marquis Abode's young master. Xie Tianyang turned to see Dong Xiaowan kneeling at his feet. Brother Song Yu has been poisoned by Pill King Hall, please save him. Xie Tianyang eyes Zhuo Fan then Jian Suifeng, 8th elder, can we save him? Ha! You think there's anyone in this world that can cure Pill King Hall's poison? If there was, it wouldn't have grown into such a fearful figure. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, don't mess with other people's problems. Xie Tianyang watched Dong Xiaowan hopeless. Forgive me, miss, I cannot help him. And left with Jian Suifeng. Dong Xiaowan cried as she turned to her brother. Dong Tianba sighed, at the end of it all, dear little brother Song met his doom because of us. We will return his body to Nitrain City and bury him there. The Song clan will be then declared our kin. Dong Xiaowan sniffed and nodded. Wait! A sudden voice stopped them. Chu Chu appeared. He's been poisoned by Rainbow Cloud Palm. If you touch him you will also suffer. What? The two backed off a few steps. Dong Xiaowan watched Chu Chu mournful. What can we do? We can't just leave Big Brother Song's body here. Leave him to me. I will heal him. Chu Chu bound Zhuo Fan in a ribbon and vanished, leaving the Dong siblings in shock. The Sword Marquis' abode of the 7 noble houses couldn't do anything. Yet, a hick woman could. The two couldn't make heads or tails of it, but Zhuo Fan was the most in shock. He observed the 3 poisons in his body combining and ever-changing, amplifying its toxicity. Was there any other method that could remove it besides the demon transformation art? Maybe. His guess got him in high spirits. 15 minutes later, in the slums, Chu Chu laid Zhuo Fan on the earthen bed and her hand flashed with a bottle. The instant she uncorked it, the scent wafted everywhere in the room. Zhuo Fan was startled, yet despite his eyes being close, they still trembled. This was what he was after from the start, the heavenly treasure, Bodhi Jade Sap. A green drop landed on Zhuo Fan's lip, sliding in his mouth. In that instant, Zhuo Fan felt a boundless vitality soaring ever higher in his body, wrapping every inch of his body. He was so happy, but the sorrow in his heart dwarfed it. Sister, it would have been better if you dripped it on my egg. Chapter 103, Incredible. Chapter 103, Incredible. A green light spread throughout his body, into every damaged fiber left behind by the poison. In 6 hours, his face no longer looked ill. Zhuo Fan felt the medicine did its job and faked a faint breath, as though he had just recovered. He was muttering all the while to make his weakened state believable. Chu Chu nodded slightly and helped Zhuo Fan to sit on the heated bed. She took a seat behind him, releasing a silver glow from her hands as she rested them on his back. Shivering from the sharp cold, Zhuo Fan sensed a frigid een seeping into his body and flowing through his meridians to clear any leftover poison. His body had little poison to begin with, and the poisoning he showed on the surface was already cleared up thanks to the Bodhi Jade Sap. If this process continued, the cat would be out of the bag. No one would fear Pill King Hall if their poison was so easily removed. Furthermore, with how knowledgeable Chu Chu seemed regarding Pill King Hall's poison, if a drop of Bodhi Jade Sap was enough to cure him, she wouldn't have followed through with the healing. Zhuo Fan was frowning at this point. No, I cannot let that happen. I can't have her realize the truth or I'll be exposed. So Zhuo Fan used the demon transformation art to remove the een energy. Chu Chu was startled, thinking the poison countered her efforts, so she added more strength. Zhuo Fan tweaked his cultivation method to match her rate of pushing Yuan Qi into his body until, at some point, Chu Chu sensed her Yuan Qi moved uninhibited through his body. However, a light scowl adorned her face. I cannot believe the Pill King Hall's poison has reached such heights. The poison from a mere youth made me expend so much energy to dispel it. Juefan secretly laughed, creaking his eyelids open and putting on the weak and sick act. Where am I? Juefan turned his head around, puzzled. But he cried in joy at the sight of Chu-Chu. Sister Chu-Chu, you're finally back. I thought you're angry with me and would never talk to me again. Chu-Chu was slightly moved. It was unimaginable for this boy to be so happy about seeing her. Instead of being relieved he was still alive. This was clear proof he placed her far higher in his heart than his own well-being. Feeling warm inside, Chu-Chu raised an eyebrow as she smiled. Of course I'm angry. You, a body cultivator, trashed Yen Fu to such a state, and you still dare fake weakness before me? Speak, what is your aim? He, I don't have one. Just that when I saw you for the first time, you showed such a fierce attitude towards me. But I know you are a good person, taking me in despite your troubles. That is why I want to get close to you, understand you, and become your friend. Chu-Chu gave him a long look and a smile slipped on her face. Humph, yeah right, who'd believe you? I saw your fight with Yen Fu. You were so vicious in your attacks, using filthy language too. It was the opposite of what a refined young master would do when looking for consolation. Juefan darted his eyes left and right as he sighed in his heart. Chu-Chu is wise to figure out a man's true nature after just one battle. What she said is true. Why would a ruthless demonic cultivator act all kind if not for his self-interest in growing stronger? He always felt that only the weak would rely on factions, while the strong stood alone. It was the same for spiritual beasts. Packs existed only of low-level spiritual beasts while 5th and 6th level beasts were solitary. Because once you had strength, you did not need one to look for shelter. But how was he supposed to answer Chu-Chu? Mulling in his heart for a while, Juefan noticed Chu-Chu's stare on him. It was then an inspiration struck and he secretly smiled. Brother Dong, thanks again for your girl-chasing skills. Ha ha ha, Sister Chu-Chu, you really want me to say it? With silly laughter, Juefan scratched his head shyly. Chu-Chu's heart was growing in suspicion. Her eyes became piercing. Tell me. Is your aim in getting close to me something unspeakable? It's not that important, just that. I like you. Juefan scratched his nose, blushing. Sister Chu-Chu, you're right, I'm not that forward when making friends with anyone, except beauties. Juefan's bottomless eyes stared at Chu-Chu with emotion. She was so stunned that a rosy tint spread on her cheeks. Why, you don't even know how I look, so why do you know I'm beautiful? Chu-Chu was starting to feel nervous as she stammered. Juefan secretly relaxed. The initiative is back in my field. Thanks, Brother Dong. Thank you for your skirt-chasing experience. Juefan was happy inside, but his face was giddy. Sister Chu-Chu, I already told you, your eyes are mesmerizing. The moment I laid eyes on them, I knew you were beautiful. Sophistry. Eyes have nothing to do with how one looks. Chu-Chu turned her head, afraid of meeting Juefan's gaze. Juefan let out a short laugh and pressed his advantage. Who said that? Mother said, the prettier the eyes, the beautiful the woman. Your mother is speaking nonsense. Really? Then let's see. Juefan reached for Chu-Chu's cloth covering her face. She was startled for a moment before fleeing scared. Don't, I am hideous. I don't want to scare you. If you try that again, I will be angry. Chu-Chu turned into the scared rabbit hunted by the fierce tiger, running to a corner in the room and blushing in panic. As for her threat, it held no power. In fact, it was more dignified than her usual cold and unfeeling manner. Juefan was stunned. Sister, I won't hit you. What are you so afraid of? Chu-Chu seemed to have recovered her usual self after hearing him speak. She shook her head. Don't joke around like this again. Regardless of your reason for getting close to me, I will soon leave this place. It's likely that we will never meet each other again. What? Leave? Juefan was alarmed. He finally found this Bodhi jade sap and now she wanted to leave. Where do I go looking for heavenly medicine then? Where? Zhuo Fan blurted. I won't tell you even if you ask. Chu Chu turned and left. This will be the last time we see each other. Her steps were growing ever fainter. Zhuo Fan's eyes now flashed with a trace of resolution. He would have to fight for the Bodhi jade sap if he still wanted it. But the opponent was a profound heaven expert. A noisy fight might break out and more experts would come. At that point, his fate was sealed. Killing intent flashed in his eyes and feigned reluctance in his voice. Sister Chu Chu, don't leave. I don't want to be away from you, ah. Zhuo Fan pretended to be weak as he got up, only to collapse forward. Even flung from a 100-meter tall cliff wouldn't put a dent in him with his bone-tempering cultivation, in normal cases. But women were women. Chu Chu's heart turned soft and was by his side to support him. But Zhuo Fan let out an evil smirk as he clawed at Chu Chu. He'd force her to hand over the Bodhi jade sap. If not, he was going to pry it from her cold dead body. Zhuo Fan wasn't kind, striking down even his so-called friends if it came to it. Since she was a profound heaven expert, she slanted her head the moment she heard the sound from the swift attack and avoided Zhuo Fan's move. The claw passed by her neck, taking with it the cloth over her face and exposing a delicate and smooth skin. Since the first attack didn't work, he wanted to continue, but Chu Chu's expression left him dumbfounded. Incredible. That was the only thought in his mind. Chu Chu's features made her the most perfect, most outstanding beauty he had ever seen. This was even if he were to include his past life. So much so, he couldn't even conceive the thought such a being existed. She is indeed a fairy. Zhuo Fan forgot even his objective. Chu Chu was also lost, not having detected Zhuo Fan's killing intent. His slack-jawed expression made her blush as tears pooled in her pure eyes. Bam! A crisp slap made intimate contact with Zhuo Fan's face, throwing him into the wall. She picked up the rough cloth on the ground and covered her face before leaving. With the clear teardrops still stained on the floor. What's going on? Zhuo Fan rubbed his inflamed cheek, finding it impossible to forget her visage. Who knew the world could birth such beauty? I thought what I used before was flattery, but it turned out to be true. Pretty eyes are always on pretty women. And she is the most amazing in the world. Zhuo Fan sighed with palpitation and sorrow. Suddenly, something occurred to him, and rushed outside. But there was no sign of Chu Chu or any trace of her Yuan Qi. Sister, at least leave the Bodhi jade sap behind. Zhuo Fan was crying inside, now I'm back to square one. Blast it all to hell. What was I doing gawking instead of attacking? Am I a lecher that can't move when he sees a beautiful woman? Zhuo Fan cursed himself as he sighed again and again.